Good evening. Happy Monday, everybody. It's Phil Russert, and I'm here at Creatorcon Q&A. This is an unofficial episode, just hanging out doing comic book chat with Rafael Tavares Jr. He is part of the Bit and Apple, and he, of course, is the author behind Written Writ, which is his page. We're going to talk tonight about comic books and basically just, the main topic of how they write heroes to be villains, and when villains become popular, they try to write them to be anti-heroes. And everybody in the chat room, of course, will be welcome to jump in and have something to say. And let's just have a fun conversation. So I'm going to bring on Rafael.
Howdy ho, neighbors.
How's it going, man?
Pretty good. How you guys doing out there? Having fun?
Before we get into our comic book chat, I would like you to plug your stuff, the Bit and Apple and everything else.
No problem. Well, you guys know me as the Written Writ Ralph because I have my show, The Written Writ, where it is a journey where you and I and you take a journey together to become better writers. At the same time, I am part of Bit and Apple TV, which likes to go from place to place and con to con and finding all those little nuggets of things that we might miss because the main media won't cover it. And they don't get much press until somebody else comes out there and tries to pull them out. And of course, as Bit and Apple, we also do skits. We also do a bunch of other things. We try to keep you entertained. Our goal is to make you smile.
And when you say nuggets, we know you don't mean that on a biological level. So
exactly.
I'm not going to hold it against you that you're wearing a Last Jedi shirt.
Hey,
I do like
Star Wars.
I'm just saying you're a writer and you're wearing a Last Jedi shirt. I don't know, man.
I thought it was the perfect thing to wear, especially since we're talking writing, and we're about to break into a bunch of the nitty-gritty of writing because the whole problem is that sometimes they'll go in a direction where you're sitting there going, why are we going in this direction?
And Marvel and DC are really all about that lately.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Well, you and I have something in common. We had spoken on a thread, and I have to tell you, I'd be ready to petition for you to write X-Men right now. The whole Cyclops situation, and we'll get into that. But basically, the main focus we're talking about today with writing is the whole point of how villains seem to be more popular these days, and they're creating anti-heroes because they want to get the appeal of that villain out there. But we all know if you're a true villain, how do you really have a title? How do you run a book around a true villain? Although there have been some successful stories like the Thunderbolts, which I thought was really good, where you had Bullseye, which was finally written really well. And, they were villains, and yet they were carrying a book, but they stayed true to being villains, which I liked. Unfortunately, this whole anti-hero thing, like Sabretooth, Venom, it's a big thing. And I'm not talking about so much like the Punisher, because that kind of makes sense with writing. But some of these guys, like Sabretooth, especially the Juggernaut, they've done it. The X-Men are notorious too. And then they take a hero like Cyclops and they made him a villain. Yeah, they turned him upside down. And the funny thing is they turned him upside down right after X-Men versus Avengers, where he showed what a true leader and strategist he was.
So they brought him back to show you how good he was, just so they can...
Yeah, I didn't understand that. I didn't understand that at all. He's the Captain America of the X-Men.
Oh, definitely.
But then again, they made Captain America an agent of Hydra, so I guess, So Jimbo's. Jimbo, I'm going to call you out here on screen. So go ahead.
It's funny though, because like you were saying, when we first started with Cyclops, as he went through his run, as his life, he was this upstanding leader, this hero, this guy who was the glue of the X-Men. He was the one, he was their moral fiber, because you always need somebody like that, especially in the team, somebody who's going to be like, well, we need to do the right thing, and we're going to do it because it's the right thing to do. And that was Cyclops, and I think you described him right. He was like the Captain America of the X-Men. He was a great leader. He cared about his people. Let's take an example, which is the biggest example that I have right now, is the whole Dark Phoenix story. The Dark Phoenix story does not work without Cyclops and Jean Grey. And what they've been trying to do with the movies is make the Phoenix story and not have Jean Grey or Cyclops in it. So you kind of lose out. And I think that's one of the reasons why the movies that try to recapture the Dark Phoenix saga don't work, is because you're missing an integral part of the story.
And the backstory between them. See, I'm a Cyclops Jean guy. I was never the Wolverine Jean guy. And Cyclops was a shy, awkward, lanky guy. They called him Slim because he was this tall, skinny, lanky dude. He came into his own by becoming this powerful, strong leader, a great strategist. If you look at the Avengers versus X-Men, he saved their rear ends because he was prepared. And honestly, I thought the Avengers were the ones who were wrong in that whole story. And I hated how they made the X-Men the villains. By the way, hello, the Rogues Gallery is here. Dan and Bill and everybody else.
Sebastian, wow, look at that.
We got Sebastian Bonet. What's up, man? And Dell's in here. So, yeah, we got some people. What's up, fellas? And Dante. So we're going to get into Hydra Cap in a minute, Dante. But back on Cyclops, he finally developed into this leader that you love and you respect. And instead of exploring that more, they want to make him a Magneto Light. And what really bothered me is when Jean Grey got possessed by the Dark Phoenix, she destroyed a whole solar system. Exactly. Millions of people, and she's redeemable. She's redeemable. Cyclops is affected by the Phoenix Force, takes out Xavier, who basically put himself in a position to be sacrificed anyway, and he cannot be forgiven. We don't have the rights to the movies, so we want to screw the X-Men up, so you don't want to read the book, because we don't want to promote the Fox movies. And that, as a big X-Men fan, that was a big no-no for me.
Oh, they tried to do the Dark Phoenix story like 3 times now, I think. When X3, and I hate X3, because they just went a whole different direction. It was the Jean Grey Phoenix story, but the star of the movie was Wolverine.
Right.
So where's your writing there? How do you have the Dark Phoenix story and make it about Wolverine?
Well, he's the go-to for any book that's failing, and he's the go-to for any movie that needs ratings, when it was Hugh Jackman. So you're lucky they didn't show his rear end.
and he's been powerful. He's been a popular character for a long time. Even back when we were collecting, he was very popular. The fans love him. And I don't think there's a problem with him. He's a good anti-hero. But again, I think he proves the point. Everybody seems to want that anti-hero. They don't seem to want, the Captain America type hero or the Superman type hero who are supposed to be these good guys who are living good lives, and they're trying to uphold a standard.
Right. I'll be putting up some people's comments while we're discussing as well, and address as you feel fit. I don't want the scrolls to go too fast and we lose them.
No, I understand completely.
And see, that's the thing is, they were going to Cyclops as the leader at that one point, which was great, but I didn't like why. They were going to him. Why did he have to become ruthless for them to have their respect for him as a leader? To me, that's just cheap writing. It
is. It's lazy writing. It's cheap writing. And it makes it easier for them to write, because now they don't have to write this perfect character.
Or even just the guidelines of a conscience. He can just do whatever the hell he wants.
Whatever he wants, yeah, which is what they want. It makes it easier. It makes it, you can throw anything, you can make them do anything, because now you don't have that that thread you have to stay on. And again, it's what you're saying. It's lazy writing, because what happens is that you don't want to spend time writing the heroic character that you need to write, because you need to have these heroic characters in these stories, because if everybody's an anti-hero,
Well, see, that's the thing, too, though. If you look at things like Walking Dead, all these stories, they always kill off the conscience. They always kill off the conscience. Now, me, look, you know who I am for. I'm a Superman fan. I'm a Nightcrawler fan. I'm a Colossus fan. I'm a cornball. I like the guy that you aspire to be. And, Sebastian makes the point. You need the hero that plays in the gray to make heroes like Cap and Superman shine. And I agree. It is absolutely 100% true. And but when you're writing well, you use those guys as tools. What they're doing now is making Superman that anti-hero as opposed to
making him gray.
Yeah, they're making him gray. They're making Cyclops gray. I mean, even Nightcrawler got jaded for a while. Colossus got jaded. Can't people? I mean, you want to show and reflect in writing the flaws of a character. Even the best of us are
Of
flawed.
course, definitely, yeah.
But to be lost is different. Flawed is one thing. To lose your identity is another. When you have a character of integrity, you want to see
Hmm.
that maintained.
Yeah, because you want to see that battle. You want to see that fight for them to be able to stay as that the character of integrity. You want, because that's where the drama is in these characters, is how do they keep doing it? Because people automatically go, he can't possibly be that good. And people say that about anybody who's good all the time. I'm a good person, and I have a lot of people who I'm their villain in their story. So
Well, we're all the villain in somebody's story, that's for
exactly,
sure. Dante, and I agree with this 1,000%. After watching The Dark Knight, everybody thought the anti-heroes were the way to go with almost every character. And that's
exactly.
true.
Hmm.
We became a Batman culture. I mean,
Definitely.
look, I like Batman a lot. I'm kind of tired of him lately, but I like Batman, and I'm not against anti-heroes. But the point that Raphael was making that led us to decide to come on and talk, that I agree with, is, but what is it in the context of writing a good story? Is it being used as a tool to get ratings, like the way you would throw Deadpool or Harley Quinn or Wolverine in a book to save it?
Exactly.
Is it because are we a darker society? I mean, think about it. We used to aspire to be Superman, and now people think he's a cornball and they laugh at him. There's a reflection there
There it is.
on
It
us.
definitely is.
And
And
go ahead.
I was going to say, I completely agree with you. It feels to me like, um, I don't know if we are the same as these people, or if it's what I was saying before, is these characters can't possibly be that good. There has to be something wrong with them. We're not saying that these heroes aren't flawed. What makes them the integrity heroes is they rise above their flaws to do what they know needs to be done. And as humans, we aspire to that. We want to rise above our flaws and still be the hero, or try to be the hero.
And you nailed it, because this is what I love about Superman that people don't get. And again, poor storytelling and poor writing doesn't reflect this. People say, "Oh, Superman's boring because he can beat everybody." I was like, "You don't get it. The fact is, he could be a god. He could conquer the world. He could rule. He could do what he wants. How strong would any of us be in personality and character to not give in to that? I mean, people aggravate us all the time, and we
Exactly.
feel they're wrong in what they think and do all the time. Imagine you had the power to manipulate that, to say, no, it's my way or the highway. And Superman's greatest strength is to have the power to do that, but his conscience tells him no. And part of that is the parents that raised him,
Exactly.
but
It's that
also
backstory. Yeah.
you. That's you. I mean,
Hmm.
because the story Red Son, it shows what would happen if he was raised a different way. But I mean, that's his true strength.
Exactly. It's who he
His own,
is.
yes, his own fight. Because I don't mind them showing him struggle and get frustrated with some of the best stories are when he's a kid and he wants to show off how he can be in sports and he's told not to, and this and that.
Right.
That is humanizing him. That is showing his flaws. But at the end of the day, as you said, he rises above. And if we can believe a guy can fly and push a planet, why can't I believe that he can rise above and stick to his conscience? I mean, isn't that what I would aspire to do?
Exactly. And one of the, I remember when I was a kid, one of the stories that I read that really, really affected me was he was fighting this really strong, powerful character. And, he's laughing while he's doing the fight. And the character and the villain's like, "What's wrong with you? I'm beating you." He's like, "No, you don't understand. All this time, I have to stop myself from going all out because I can really hurt somebody.
Right.
I don't have to do that with you." And then he kicks his ass. But you know what I'm saying?
Right. No, it's true.
Powerful line. It shows you that he's doing this on purpose. So he doesn't hurt somebody.
And Gallo, you're right. Batman and the Shadow were the anti-hero. They started.
Yeah.
And there was a need for that. But before there was Batman, there was Superman. Before there was Batman, there was Wonder Woman.
But even back then, with Batman and the Shadow, these heroes had integrity. They weren't completely.
They still had a code. They don't kill.
Yeah. They had codes. They didn't do certain things. They tried to figure out how not to cross that line, which is what makes Batman so great. Is that he's trying not to cross that line. He's trying not to become the villain.
But that's also not realistic, too, though. Think about it. What kind of psychosis do you have to suffer from to do what he does every day, that character does, and not cross and blur that line? So, again, though, Batman's a different territory. He was created and meant to be that edge.
Yeah. He was supposed to be a vigilante.
Yes.
It just wasn't supposed to be the vigilante that he turned him into later on.
But the problem with the writing that's been going on is, like you said, there's this craze for the dark side of people and the darkness, that they want to make characters that shouldn't be on the edge. They should stay away from the edge. You can write fresh new stories and not have to make Superman go bonkers and kill somebody. And the proof is at the end of Man of Steel, people were pissed off that he killed Zod, because that's not him. Although in Superman 2, Christopher Reeve killed him. But to make all of the characters more grim and gritty, I personally appreciate when a character is written closer to how they were created, like Cap and Spider-Man. Exactly. Captain America was the Superman ideology with a different power set. Spider-Man was every one of us as a teenager and young adults, struggling to pay our bills, frustrated with nothing going right, the day-to-day crap that was dumped in our lap, but he maintained his integrity.
One of the things about Spider-Man that I love is, early on, he learns the lesson. A lot of people like Uncle Ben, blah, 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 blah. But he learns a very valuable lesson when Uncle Ben dies. That's why it's so important, is because he decides not to do something. He decides not to do the right thing, and it comes back to bite him.
Right.
After that, he tries to make sure that whatever happens, he always does the right thing, no matter, even if it's going to destroy him.
Right. And it's even made it harder for him having to go by those guidelines. I mean, things could have been easier. Think about it. If these guys, like if Superman didn't pull his punches, he wouldn't have villains to fight next time. They'd be gone. He'd be like the guy from The Boys. What's his name? What's the character, the Superman archetype from The Boys?
I know who you're talking about, the Captain America looking guy.
Yeah, come on, dude. Stan Lee, freaking Mark. Somebody come up here. Anyway, Sebastian is 1,000% right, and this is one of the reasons why I hated the Grant Morrison run. I hate that run. No disrespect to Grant Morrison. I hated that run when he was psychically cheating with the White Queen. They ruined that. And by the way, I just read the newest I'm behind one issue. Jean Grey, they're having a threesome, and she's jumping in a hot tub with Wolverine. I always liked that Cyclops got the girl because, let's face it, growing up, the girl's like the bad boy. When you were a good guy and you were a decent guy, you were overlooked. So it was nice to see the good guy win once. Nice guys finish last. Well, this time he didn't. And they stripped that. They took that away. Now it's Wolverine, the bad boy. And it's the same thing. Yeah, and it's the same with Submariner with Invisible Woman. I hate that. Reed Richards was the good guy, And what are you saying about women, that they have this animalistic sexual attraction to the bad boy? I mean, I know it's realistic. It's probably the truth. But why can't we look at the good guy, the straight up guy, and say, good for you, man. You got the girl this time.
That also takes apart relationships, because what it's saying is that no matter how good your relationship is, you're still going to break it for the bad guy because, that's what you want. And then that's the other problem in writing. They don't like relationships in writing because it makes it harder for them to write. Because then you have to write, how can these guys stay in this relationship? How do they fight to be in this relationship? It's like real life. You have to you know how it is. A relationship isn't like just a story piece. You are going to be fighting for the rest of your life to stay in this relationship, especially because a lot of people think love is just a feeling. Love is also actions and things.
It's work.
Exactly. It's a lot of work. And the easy thing is just to go and move on to the next person. The hard thing in writing is to keep these two in a relationship. It doesn't mean that they're not going to have pitfalls. It means that, they're going to try to stay in this relationship, make it work.
But that's the problem with writers. I think they're lazy. Or maybe the editors are the problem, which is probably both. Instead of bailing on a relationship and you have to create that turmoil to keep it interesting, why don't you just go in depth into the relationship of the characters? Because they aren't smooth. I love my wife more than anything. She tolerates me. That's a good thing going on there. But the fact is, it's work. And there is day-to-day struggles and triumphs as well. That's realistic. Good writing does that.
It's a part of the give and take. It's a part of life.
She just
And
peeked and she goes, "Yeah, I tolerate you."
Yeah, but that's the whole thing. That's and again, maybe it's the editors. Maybe people want, we want to give people what they want to see. Maybe whatever it is, but it's the fact that it's easier for you to have an out. It's easier for you to do. Oh, next week I want to do a story where Spider-Man's in love with Black Cat. So now we need to get rid of
Mary Jane.
There you go, Mary Jane. I personally like the universe where Mary Jane and Peter Parker are still married. I think because you want to see a relationship that actually struggles, because it's inspiring. Because you were told that if something happens to your relationship, just go get another person.
But you're right. That's what they're doing. They're bailing out. There's no work. But Straczynski's storyline with Mephisto kind of really upended that whole thing.
Exactly.
And I don't read Spider-Man now. I don't know how it is. I hear that Spencer is doing a good job with it, but he's slow with his storytelling. There was a villain introduced in the first issue, and they still haven't gotten to him. I don't know, but I think writing is also influenced by fads now. Are we writing a story for the sake of a good story? Are we writing for a fad, for a topic, for an agenda? We can argue a lot of that. Here's an example of good writing. Sebastian said the movie Unbreakable explains Superman understood the character. It's true.
Exactly.
It's true. And then
it's a great story. It's a great movie. It really goes in depth into this type of hero. Where you're not getting hurt. Everything's it just really works.
But you need to show their integrity. You need to have them show their true selves, not just take a new writer has when they jump on a book in recent times and relaunch a series. Absolutely, that's another thing that's really bad. Relaunching after issue 12 and rebooting and starting at number 1 with a new creative team. They have lost continuity because they don't want to have to use researchers to use those little yellow boxes and go back.
Previously on Spider-Man.
Yeah, and you're right though, Dante. They killed continuity.
Oh, definitely.
So, and artists and writers come in and say, well, I want the guy I want. Like, I'm a big Nightcrawler fan. Now, Chris Claremont had him as a swashbuckling, charming, charismatic guy. Yes.
Running around. I love them popping here and there. Yeah.
And he did have a touch of Christianity and faith then, but they didn't go overboard with the theme. Okay. It was an underlying theme. It didn't have to be overboard. And then all of a sudden he went to being he went so far Christian that he can't even beat up Graydon Creed, a normal human being anymore. And they made him a big puss. I'm like, how did you make Nightcrawler a puss? There's a guy that was fighting Spider-Man toe-to-toe, and now he can't even beat up a human. It sucks. And then when they had what was that X-Men run where they had Old Man Logan, and they had Nightcrawler saw a burial ground of body, like a bunch of bodies in a pit. And all of a sudden, he was like so broken, and he was like a shell of himself. The writing was horrible. He was wearing chainmail. He had long hair. He became this weak, pathetic character. It's like, what did you do? This was Errol Flynn, and you turned him into this spineless, weak thing.
It's funny because I feel like some writers like certain characters and don't like other characters, and some writers come into a series and they have to write characters they don't like, and they'll start doing, oh, I don't like you anyway, so I'm going to write you whichever way I want. I'm going to make you look the way I think you look.
Right. Yeah, I don't like it. You have to stay true to the character. You're there to serve the character. The character's not there to serve you.
Exactly.
And I think celebrity has gotten to a lot of the creators, and they think they're the ones carrying the book, where they don't understand. No, the book is carrying you. These characters have been around for 50, 60, 70 years, and they will be here when you are no longer writing.
So what happened with Raimi and Spider-Man, what was it, Spider-Man 3, the emo Spider-Man?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Raimi does not like Venom. He didn't want to use him.
I know. He wanted the Vulture.
The story was originally about Sandman. It was a nice story, and they forced him to use Venom, and we saw what happened. His whole movie fell apart because of it. Because, especially because he doesn't like the character.
And he also had a script for Sandman, Vulture, and he wanted to lead it into the Sinister Six, and
Right.
they wouldn't do it. Sebastian, going back to Superman, was saying that he is a god trying to be human and an example of justice, and he's right.
Exactly.
Superman is trying to fit in. He's trying to be one of us instead of above us, and that's powerful.
Right.
And
I think the reason the video game Injustice works is because it shows what happens if Superman finally goes over the line.
right,
You know, he kills the Joker, and you know we now see what the world is with that type of Superman. And I feel like that's why Injustice works so well, the video game.
well, but I don't mind if you do the alternate universe thing. The problem is when you're
I love
killing the
alternate universe.
continuity. Yeah. Gallo was saying Alan Moore's greatest anti-hero wasn't in Watchmen. It was V for Vendetta.
Exactly.
V is a throwback from the Golden Age anti-heroes like the Shadow and Batman,
Exactly.
which is true.
Totally.
Oh, by the way, yeah, thank you, Sebastian. It's Homelander. And
There
did
you
you
go,
see
Homelander.
Brightburn? Did you see Brightburn?
I saw Brightburn, the whole concept of the evil Superman. Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, Boys' second season starts Friday, man.
I'm already hearing about season 3 with our guy from Supernatural, you know, and I'm like, okay, this is interesting.
But see, look at that for a moment. The Boys has got huge ratings. It's well loved, and it's dark. It's gritty. It's violent. It's taking the Justice League and turning them into rapists and murderers, and we love it.
It's even worse than that because you don't have heroes in The Boys. There aren't
Right.
any real heroes in The Boys. You have the heroes who are corrupted, and then you have these other guys trying to take out the hero. Nobody in this show, in this book, is really a hero. You don't have the pure heroes. And again, like you're saying, this is what we're like going crazy for.
And that's my concern. When the Joker came out with Joaquin Phoenix, I did a review on my Creatorcon page, and I wrote that to me it was Taxi Driver and Falling Down meet a clown.
Yep.
I didn't think it was a bad movie by any means, but I didn't think it was original. I didn't think it was anything that we haven't seen. It wasn't groundbreaking. It was done well. It obviously wasn't the Joker from DC Comics.
Exactly.
I didn't mind. I took it for the movie it was.
Exactly.
But I saw so much praise heaped on it, and I was like, I would rather praise. I want to embrace Superman, not the Joker. I mean, what was that saying? It's when you're a kid, you embrace the hero. When you're an adult, or when you're a kid, you relate to the hero. When you're an adult, you relate to the villain. Sadly, that is true.
It is
But think about this: if all adults related to the hero, then we wouldn't have an issue.
Oh, we'd be having big problems. Yeah, major problems. And I agree with you. I thought that Joker was a great movie, a great dramatic movie. I like what they did with it. It wasn't per se a Joker movie, but I also had a bunch of issues with it because I understood what they did was that most of the movie happens through Joker's mind. So you can't really take what's happening, completely at
Yeah, that ending to me was like Lost. It was like the show Lost. It was open to interpretation. Was the whole thing in his mind or not?
Right. So because in the movie you see that Thomas Wayne is a bad guy pretty much. You see stuff that doesn't make any sense. So now you're left to wonder, which is I guess a good thing. It makes it a good movie. Is this universe really like this, and the Joker is a more relatable character, or is his mind so messed up he sees himself as the hero and he's seeing all these other people who probably aren't as bad as that as the villain?
Right. Hey, Louis Schaefer, what's going on?
Woo! Shadow Rabbit.
Yeah. Man, we got the crew in tonight.
Oh yeah.
My Rogues Gallery, and then some of our older friends there. Mark had said for Man of Steel, it wasn't that he killed Zod, it was that there was 10,000 other ways for that to resolve. I agree and disagree with that. You're right. It was lazy for them to just kill him, but at the same time, maybe they were setting it up for that whole Doomsday crap in Superman vs. Batman. But at the same time, I don't know, because people were also pissed off that he was nonchalantly destroying the city and not worrying about lives either. So I think it was a mixture of both.
The other movie too, but Dawn of Justice, because Batman's like, "What the fuck's wrong with you?" Sorry.
No, that's all right. Yeah, don't YouTube the F-bombs on YouTube. I'll be off.
But sorry, I'm like, wait.
Yeah. But so I think it's a little of both. I think Mark is right to a degree, but I also think it's just people like. See, I think the reason why it went by with Christopher Reeves is because it was an implied killing, not an outright killing, and
Exactly.
because Christopher Reeve was so homely and so wholesome,
Pure.
and things were wholesome back then. The music was lighthearted. The whole situation was portrayed in a very simple, lighthearted way, and we were still getting over the S shield and laser fingers and multiplying people that just popped up out of nowhere. But so I think that's why that went over and nobody really paid attention. This was brutal. He snapped his neck, and you're right.
Speaking,
It could have been other things to do.
In old TV movie language, you don't see them die. So you know what they say: if you don't see the body, they can always come back, or they're not really dead.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I think that's what in these movies now they try to leave it so that okay, this character's dead, we're going to show it to you.
Well, think about this. Even the characters that stayed dead, like Captain Marvel and Thunderbird, all they did is make another character that's their doppelganger anyway. That is them. It may not be the same person, but the same power set, same kind of attitude. I mean, Warpath became just like his brother, later on. He was angry.
Definitely, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the reason why they got rid of Thunderbird, if you want to talk about writing and choices for writing, was they felt they wanted to move Wolverine's character forward, but that he was too similar to Thunderbird, so it was going to take away from Wolverine. So they had to have the one grumpy bastard. So they said, we're going to have to kill Thunderbird because he's too much like Wolverine with the attitude, and they wanted to promote Wolverine instead. And that is exactly why they killed him.
Wow. I did not know that.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, in this day and age, there's no way they're killing an American Native American for that reason.
I was just thinking that right now. I was like, wait a minute.
and look, comics have always reflected the society at the time.
Definitely.
That's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
When Xavier, Magneto, it was all about bigotry and everything. But, and I'm going to probably get flack for this, when they wrote that, they presented the situation, and you made a decision when you read it. Is Magneto a bad guy, or is he a gray area? Is Professor X really doing the right thing or not? They didn't force feed you what they're telling you is the right answer. And I think the problem is writers now, besides presenting the social climate of the time, are injecting their own personal opinion of the social climate at the time. I mean, Neil Adams, think about it. Neil Adams and Denny O'Neil did groundbreaking work with Speedy being a junkie, because in the 80s, drugs were a main thing.
Everywhere, yeah.
But they didn't vilify him. They didn't tell him right or wrong.
Exactly.
Right? They didn't, what they were showing it as the sickness it is, and how you're going to cope with it and how you can deal with it.
Which is why I like that storyline so much. It was just it. Also, you have to admit that at that time it was a different take, because everybody else wanted to vilify the junkie, and it was nice to see the junkie as the sick person he was.
Right. We lost some viewers, so I must have pissed off somebody. Oh well. I just think writers need to be like journalists. They have to be, from an objective standpoint, put out the story, present it, and let the reader form the opinion of what they feel is morally correct or not. Magneto has always been gray area, except for the very beginning. He was a bad guy. He became an interesting character when they did give him gray area. He was doing bad things, but he thought he was doing it for right reasons, good reasons. He felt justified. But the writer never told you he is justified in what he does or he isn't. They just put it out there, and you as a reader decided, I really side with Magneto on this. I get this. And that's what I think is the difference in writing right now.
I also feel like one of my favorite villains is Dr. Doom.
Yes.
And it's very hard to make Dr. Doom anti-hero or send him in that direction. And it's only because in Dr. Doom's mind, he's doing the right thing. He believes that if he has total domination of the world, he can make it a better place.
Right.
So in his mind, he is the ultimate hero.
Mm-hmm.
All these other people are villains because they're stopping him from making the world a better place.
Right.
Now, if we got this concept, there is no way he can be the hero or the anti-hero, even if he's trying to do the good thing. or at least he believes he's trying to do the good thing.
But in Latveria, his people loved him
Oh
because
yeah,
he took
completely.
care of them.
Exactly.
So to some people, he is a hero.
Exactly.
Now,
But
Dante,
that's how life is, though.
Dante, you're right. Nobody in their mind believes they aren't the hero of their own story. You're absolutely right. But here's the point: the writer is telling you if they are the hero or not in your own mind, as opposed to let us determine that as a reader. At least that's my opinion. That's just my take on it. That's
Because
not
before
knocking
is
anything.
we're going to set the stage for you. You tell me what's going on, and you wrote it in that way so that people could actually sit there, enjoy the story, and make up their own mind on what's going on.
And Sebastian, this is the biggest drive for writing. Sebastian is right. I think right now you have to write characters drawing casuals, but you have to do it without alienating the hardcore fan base. Here's my big stink right here.
Yeah.
I get you want the casuals to come in, but they're called casuals for a reason. It's a fad to them. The people that watch the movies, they used the comics to be commercials for the movies, and the comics suffered. That
Exactly.
alienated us 30-year readers. So we're dropping off like flies because you're trying to capture new readers, and these readers didn't capture. They didn't come on. Because they like the movies, but they're not hardcore fans. Marvel and DC's numbers are dropping because they hurt their hardcore. They alienated their hardcore fans for new fans, and the new fans aren't staying, not in large numbers, to make up for what they lost.
Right.
And I always said, why don't you just do an MCU universe? They've done the Ultimates, which is kind of what the MCU is based on. They've done, other alternate. Well, just do the MCU universe where it's Helmsley as Thor the way you draw him. If you want to keep casuals, you could sell that book that way, and then you can keep Uncanny X-Men and Avengers the way we like it. I think Jason Aaron is doing a great job with Avengers right now. He's doing some fresh new things with still maintaining a retro feel where I don't feel like I'm reading an alien book. It is the Avengers to me. But there's too many books I've been reading. I'm like, this doesn't seem like the characters I grew up with.
I agree with you. I feel like one of the things that I loved about DC, and I know a lot of people will give me some flack for it because the whole reason the crisis happened was to get rid of all the alternate realities. But I enjoyed the alternate realities. I enjoyed that on this Earth, we have the heroes and they've been fighting since World War II. I enjoyed that in this Earth, the heroes are more modern. I love that take. I feel like that gives everybody something of what they want. You can have a little bit of, well, you guys like this universe, so here, check out this universe. Or you guys have, and these books were being released at the same time, and sometimes there were crossovers that would happen.
Right.
But it was really thought out, smart writing.
And think about it too. You had outlets. You had Elseworlds titles for DC. You had What If for X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
I mean for Marvel, and that helped them explore without having to worry about continuity. Why couldn't they just continue on that route?
What If was a fantastic idea. Elseworlds was a fantastic idea. And I feel like a lot of people don't like DC and their movie making ability, but DC does a great job with its animated movies.
Yes.
And I think that's because every animated movie, as long as it's not connected to another one of the movies, it's its own world, and you feel like it's its own world. And you jump in, you have this story, and you're like, that was great because you got a full story. It may not have been connected to something, but you got an idea of who these characters were, why they were the way they were, and an idea of the universe they were in.
And to expound upon that, sorry, someone's going nuts over there. To expound upon that whole point that you were making, and I just lost my thought because somebody just blew up something in the house. So anyway, what were you just saying? What were you just talking about? Oh my God. You were just talking about the different universes, right? And
exactly, yeah.
Well, but that's the thing too, is that's a good way not to alienate anybody, because if I don't want to pick up an Elseworlds title to see that Dark Gritty Batman, you were talking about the animated movies, but it works.
Same concept.
I always wanted to see two things I think would be huge money makers, and right now it might be good for them both losing money. First, I'd love to see an X-Men cartoon movie that is like PG-13, where you really see great epic fight scenes, but also characterization and depth.
Exactly.
But what would be awesome? If they both said, all right, why don't we make an animated series with DC and Marvel going at it?
That'd be great. And there's been
they could use the revenue.
Yeah, there's been a rumor because of all this money they've lost that there's something happening in the background with a DC versus Marvel type of thing.
Now imagine, right now DC is in turmoil because AT&T bought them out. AT&T doesn't know shit about comics. Imagine Marvel gets away from Disney, which I think we all thought Disney was going to be great for Marvel, and wound up not being so, in my opinion. I mean, they do good movies, but for the most part. But imagine Marvel and DC joined and became their own publishing company, and they could still maintain the separate universes under the same publishing company, but had the ability to cross them over at any time they wanted.
That makes them some good money, yeah.
But think about that. You can maintain the separate universes under the same publisher, right? If they amalgamated their publishing companies. But anytime you wanted, they can cross over into that world how they see fit. And you'd have the best of both worlds. Their ratings would go up, the money would probably go up, and they would be in charge of their own destiny, not listening to Disney execs or AT&T execs.
I like the idea. I think it's a great concept. I only worry because both Marvel and DC have done that thing where they buy a competition that's doing well, and all.
But see, a merger, not buyout.
Okay.
A merger. Let them merge together under one umbrella, equal partners. That way, they still have a balance. It would be a symbiosis between the two.
As long as it's like that, we're good. Because I love the Milestone universe before DC bought it out, and after DC bought it out, I was like,
and then they talked about making the Milestone universe big again, and it just never happened. What the hell?
Well, supposedly another rumor is that Milestone is coming back. They're going to be their own universe again. I want to see how this works. There's also rumors of a Static Shock movie. So, let's see what happens with them. They're great characters. I would love to see somebody do something with them.
And that's what's also missing is we're taking white characters and we're making them black to get the mythos of that character, to make the character popular. I personally would love to see more great black characters made, more Latino characters made. I mean, think about Giant Size X-Men. They had brought Storm to represent black people and Africans, Sunfire for the Japanese, Colossus with Russian, Nightcrawler with Germans, Native Americans. They started branching out, and they were diversified. It didn't feel like it was shoved down your throat. It was just diversified. It was for the sake of a good story and reaching people. We can do that still.
Oh, definitely. That's what I was about to say. The funny thing is, you have, like, people go, there's not that many characters. There are a lot of characters already out there.
Sitting on a shelf.
Exactly. And not
being written poorly.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, look at Aquaman. Jeff Johns took over Aquaman. And here's an example of writing. He put Aquaman back on the map, and by addressing Aquaman and how he was always a joke in his writing, he took the negative stereotype on Aquaman, used that as a tool in the writing to make him actually a great character.
That's a great idea. It's a great writer's idea, too.
Yeah.
Because, okay, so you guys think he's a joke. I'm going to show you why he's not a joke. That's actually a great way to try to write the character.
Carlos Ramos, great artist, by the way. You should all check out Carlos's art. I've picked up commissions from him. Great guy, too. On the boys, we've got not any hero, only humans with enough power to be who they really are.
I hope you're wrong, brother, because that says that we as humans won't do the right thing. We won't do what needs to be done. We are only looking out for ourselves, and that's a bad place to be.
But again, is that a reflection of society right now?
It feels like, yeah.
That's the problem. If I went back and watched a Happy Days episode right now, I'd be like, oh my God, it's the most cheesy, corny thing in the world. There was a point where that wholesomeness felt good. It was good. Not anymore. So I'm just going through the scrolls. We got a lot of people in here. All you guys are awesome for coming in.
Wow, man, you guys have been busy. Woo.
If anybody wants to jump on camera, I'll pull you in. We can talk.
Come on,
let's
Jordan.
do this. I can pull up 8 more people. Let's do this. Let's have a conversation. What's going on, Pete? So let me just backtrack because we had a lot of people.
Look what Shadow Rabbit says here. Now the corporate guys will squeeze it dry and edit the hell out of it.
Yep.
It's true.
And writing, sometimes you wonder how much is editing. Look at Hickman. Hickman has been tweeting that he's frustrated with the editors pushing him around and what he can and can't do and tell the story he wants. And he's very scientific, like he was with his Avengers run and the FF run. are they trying to curb him with his writing? You know, I don't know.
It's
By
so
the way,
funny because
Sebastian, Umbrella Academy is awesome. I love that show.
it's
I
so
never read the
funny
book though.
because before you didn't have, like, they would interrupt your, the editors, of course, they had their issues with you, but I feel like the writers had a little more free run before. They can write what they needed to write. I feel like one of the reasons why independents should be bigger now is because you're going to get more hardcore writing. You're going to get more stuff that you wouldn't get from Marvel or DC. And I hate when people go, oh, the comic industry right now, it's falling. And that's because you're not looking at, there's a plethora of great writers out there writing their own independent books, showcasing their own cartoons.
But why would these guys want to give up freedom? Why? Why would they want to give up freedom? And why would they want to create a character just to lose the rights to the character?
Exactly.
I mean, why? Why would you do that?
Yeah, before that was the dream. I want to work for Marvel, DC. Now I'm like, I want to write my own stuff. When I'm writing, all the stuff I'm working on right now, like I'm working on a teddy bear superhero with Shadow Rabbit, actually. And
I know what you guys did. You did the nice.
And I know that well that if I was writing for one of the companies, they'd get upset with anything that I was writing. I'm doing in the book a little more psychological than probably people will go, kids won't understand this. And I'm like, no, you don't talk down to kids. You talk to kids.
Right. No, you're right. Real quick, I think this is important too. One of the best DC stories, and stories of all time even, that was written, it was incredible, it was genius, was Identity Crisis.
Ah, that was a great story.
They explained why DC villains were goofy, stupid, bad guys. And they also made it to where they could now make them serious, and it made total sense. I don't know if you've all read DC's Identity Crisis. Rags Morales drew a lot of it. That book has one of the all-time best stories. Not just what they did with Batman, not just the fact that Deathstroke has this awesome scene against the Justice League and he kicks all their asses. The magically lobotomizing of the bad guys to make them these goofy, stupid villains that we went through the Golden and Silver Age with. And now they were taking, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
And then it also touched on losing the integrity of the villains, which, we talk about Batman as an anti-hero, but he even said that crossed the line. When he found out, right?
Yeah.
That's
because,
but
again, that's that line, the Batman won't crossover, that a lot of people get upset with the Batman character because everybody's like, Joker should have been dead ages ago. But, he wants to treat people as people. He wants to give people the chance to redeem themselves.
I agree. Well, even wasn't it Hush where Gordon was like, if you just killed him, this wouldn't have happened, but you won't kill him. Didn't he keep saying that in Hush? He was like, you're the one who won't kill him, and you wonder why.
I think it wasn't Hush.
I think it was Hush. So
it's the same thing that Jason Todd, when he comes back, he goes, if it was me, I would have killed him.
Right.
And Batman's like, don't you think I wanted to? But I can't cross that line. I don't want to cross that line.
Pete was saying it's like pro wrestling. They have our money. They need the casuals to make profit. They expect to drop off if they can grow the casuals. Yeah, but the problem is comics is a little different than wrestling in that it's a lot smaller niche. And it doesn't have the same outreach. Well, it does now with the movies, but we grew up for 30 years. We read comics. There was no movies. We were lucky we got the Dolph Lundgren and Lou Gossett Jr. Punisher, and we were grateful for that garbage.
That's all you did. When we were kids, we dreamed, oh my God, maybe one day they'll make an X-Men movie.
And little did I know the X-Men movie would kill the X-Men I love in the comics. I didn't expect that at all. At all.
I have to admit, like, I liked the first X-Men movie, but I was so surprised when they had the next generation be the first generation of X-Men.
Right.
I thought they were going to make an X-Men movie and I'd have Angel, Jean Grey, Beast, Iceman, Cyclops. I was like, oh, this is going to be great. And then they went to the next generation and I was like, wait a minute. Those guys weren't the first X-Men.
Dante still spends $100 a week on books, comic supplies. Just picks and chooses what he reads. I used to. I don't anymore.
Yeah.
I just don't. I don't. I pick up the X titles in hopes that things will get better, and I'm not really happy with Pod people. They're sinister clones, and I can't get past that. Call me petty. I can't get past that the characters that I've loved for 35, 40 freaking years, 40, almost 40 years, are sinister clones. Now, people are saying that Hickman's doing something with that. There's going to be consequences intentional.
Of course. That's the way
it doesn't matter, but how do you retcon that without them being clones anymore? Saying it's an alternate universe. The only way he could fix it is if Moira McTaggart, this was a different timeline, and we're not in the timeline that it was supposed to be. Because other than that, they're always going to be sinister clones. They're dead.
Yeah, because I think you're right. The only way to really fix it, unless he has another idea, and hopefully he does, is this is an alternate universe, another reality, something like that. It has to be, that's the only way to really fix this. But, and comics do that a lot. They give you something and then they take it away from you. Sometimes it works very well, and sometimes it works very badly, like the clone storyline from Spider-Man.
Hey, we got Evan Thompson in here. Thanks for coming. He's starting to become a regular. How you doing? Thanks for coming in. Doctor Strange TV movie. It was like he was like a porn actor. Didn't he? He had the mustache and the hair. And Pete talks about The Killing Joke. Now, The Killing Joke, obviously,
Great book.
You don't go wrong with more. It showed how sadistic he was. But the best part to me about that whole book was the joke he tells at the end about the flashlight, the two psychiatric guys that break out, and they go across the other. He goes, all right, look, I got this flashlight. I'll turn it on. You run across the beam, and you get to the other side. And he goes, no, what do you think? I'm crazy? He goes, what do you mean? He goes, you'll shut the flashlight off while I'm halfway across. and Joker starts, he shot Barbara Gordon and paralyzed her. He doesn't know if she's dying or what. And he tells this funny joke, and then Batman beats the absolute shit out of him. And that was perfect. Here's something that doesn't get credit, though. Kevin Smith wrote a book, Cacophony. I don't know if anybody knows about this book. But the Joker winds up getting captured because Batman won't kill him. And there's the argument again about should I kill him or not. And they put him on drugs that make him lucid, that make him more rational. And Batman shows up in his room, and the Joker is rational. He's like calm. And the Joker goes into this diatribe of, oh, wait, you thought it was because I was a lunatic I hate you? No, I just fucking hate you. Oh, sorry. I just hate you. He goes, I hate you. And I live to hate you. I live to be your antithesis. I live for it. And it was amazing that he wrote, it's not because Joker's crazy. Joker just doesn't. He's just evil.
But if you're really paying attention, you can see it. Even when other people are writing Joker, you can see that there's this relationship with Batman, and it's all about the bat. You can see it. Even with other writers. But that's a nice way to put it. And I feel like that's a great definition of the Joker.
So Dante wants to come on. We're going to put Dante in. Pete wants to come in.
Come on, Dante.
Hey, Enrique, what's going on, buddy? I'm sorry we went late, so I didn't get to see your show. Yeah, David Hasselhoff, Nick Fury. That's great. All right, I'm going to send invites to Dante. Mark, do you want in? Hey, Veer. Mark, if you want in, tell me. I'll send invites. So Pete, Dante, anybody else? Is Sebastian still with us, or did he leave? All right. I'm going to send them now. So hang on. Oh, look at this. I got a bunch of messages. He's tagged me in, Coach. All right,
yeah, it was a great conversation, man,
Dude, this is what it's about. This is absolutely what it's about for me. Yeah, hang on. Let me get these guys in, and then I'm going to they both said that I'm ready to play Coach. That's funny. So, listen, just to get on a serious note, I have these once in a while comic chats, and I'm going to have them more often. This is what it's about.
It is.
This is what it's about. Why are we fighting when we have so much that we are united by? Let's revel in what we share in common and stop vilifying for what we don't. I mean, enough. Comics are supposed to unite us. Comics are supposed to make us see what we love and have in common. Comics saved me as a child, and I'm
Same
sure
thing
they
here.
saved. Yeah. So why are we going to turn it into a weapon when it was a savior? I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that.
It's funny because you bring that up, but it's I've always had depression. You know, I've dealt with it in different ways through my life, and one of the major ways that I dealt with it as a kid was reading Spider-Man, and it was great to see somebody else my age going through all these problems that I was going through, or similar problems that I was going through, and watching him be his own man.
Right.
I'm not gonna say that the Spider-Man from the MCU universe is awful, because it's a great character and they write him very well, but he's not my Spider-Man.
Right.
This is a kid. The Spider-Man now is some kid who Iron Man took him under his wing and made him a hero. My Spider-Man made himself a hero. He came up and dealt with his life problems and was a hero at the same time. And that was inspiring.
I agree.
Inspiring.
I agree.
It helps out a lot when you're going through whatever you're going through, and you just need some kind of distraction.
Hey, Pete, listen, I apologize. I sent you guys the wrong link at first while I was talking to him. I had your Bit and Apple link that I put in the scroll, so I sent that to them by accident.
He spammed us.
Going over to the Bit and Apple. So Enrique
us.
and Dante are like, where the hell am I going?
No, I appreciate it. First off, gentlemen, it's nice to see you guys and chat with you guys face to face. It's been a little too long. I hope you guys and your families are all doing well.
Dante, we are. Thank you.
Good. I see your kids on your streams all the time, so I'm like, yeah, all right. Super Dad is at it again. Fantastic.
Hi, guys.
It's funny. My daughter would be over here somewhere, but she's asleep. So
Where's Enrique? Where's Enrique?
My sister and I are constantly walking in on each other's streams. It's hysterical. So, luckily, with a lot of the cosplay kids that she deals with, they all know that my table at a con is base if they get lost or they need help or something. So they always end up congregating at my table. And Raph, it's amazing seeing you. You actually, I'm going to dive right in. You were just talking about something because we've talked about this too at great lengths. I know we had a long conversation in the East Meadow Public Library basement one day about dealing with depression and things like that, which is me too. Absolutely. Anxiety and stuff. And it's
Enrique, I sent the link.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Listen, I'm sorry to cut you off real quick. First of all, Dante Hicks is with us too. What's up, Dante? Pete Vasquez is with us. Enrique Lopez is about to join us. I'm just going to remind everybody to keep this clean as much as possible. It's about unity. There's no politics, and there is no anything divisive right now. Okay, I know you guys know that, but I'm just making that clear. This is about our love for comics. What's up, Dante?
Can anyone hear me?
Yes, we all hear you.
All right, perfect.
That's why I wanted to. I didn't mean to cut you off, Pete. I just want to make sure we got everybody's audio. And
solid.
Enrique's having trouble.
He'll be fine. I believe in him.
Hey, Dell is here. Dell is a new friend of mine on Facebook. He's been a loyal supporter for the Rogue Gallery. What's up, buddy? I don't know what's going on.
Robin said he would join us, but his kid is in his arm right now. So
yeah, I saw that.
Which kid? He has like 75 kids.
So Dante knows a lot about comics. I will say that. Dante is very educated on comics.
Bills.
Yeah. We have a good panel here, actually. So I'm gonna start to keep everything rounded because we've jumped all around. I'm gonna start with this. Was Cyclops right or wrong?
When? I'm just...
the whole hashtag Cyclops was right? It was when they were doing X-Men versus Avengers, and the Avengers invaded their island.
I remember,
and the Avengers were saying they were wrong for wanting to deal with the Phoenix Force, and Cyclops is like, you're coming to my island, buddy. Mm-hmm. Get that. You have no government jurisdiction here. Get out of here. Was Cyclops the villain of the story, or was Captain America and the Avengers?
I'm Team Cyclops, and I'm Team Cyclops for two reasons. First off, I play right off what you're saying. They came to his island. I understand the greater good, Phoenix and stuff, but they could have been different. They didn't have to come I know it's a comic book, so they had to, but they could have easily been like, "Hey, Cyclops, they could have given him a call. He could have got a video call and be like, "Yo, this is what's going on. Let's work as a group and fix that." But they didn't.
Right, they just show up on his board.
They came guns blazing, ready to go. Nah, Cyclops did what he like, and I'm going straight. Like Cyclops did exactly. You came, you wanted the smoke. We're gonna give it to you, and look what happened. But remember, look at the onus. Look at the X about that point. Look at what side Wolverine was on. And that's where I take it. Wolverine, I've had a problem with Wolverine. First off, and Phil, this is going to jump right into what you did with the X-Men movies and stuff. And even before that, Wolverine has always wanted Cyclops' girl. What is that? Why have we all accepted that was okay? First off. Just
because the writers wanted to make an Archie love triangle.
No, I get it, but the Archie love triangle works a lot better when Betty and Veronica, neither one of them wants Archie.
Well, let me ask you: was it really all that groundbreaking when you had that going on in Fantastic Four with Submariner?
Look, I'm not gonna. That wasn't the point. The point was the way Wolverine would go about it and stuff. And then the problem was we had Cyclops, Boy Scout, Wolverine, the Rogue. But then the movies came out, and everybody loves Hugh Jackman. So what do? Let's switch them, and then let's make the comics switch them, and let's make Cyclops the dirty one and the bad guy because it'll be fun and it'll be cool. No, that's not what Cyclops did. Cyclops is always right there pushing the wheelchair, helping Professor X. Cyclops sacrificed his entire life. Okay, he let Jean Grey die on that moon. He did all these things. He survived that entire Claremont run.
All right, listen. Someone's got to turn the sound off somewhere. You're causing feedback. But you got to put headphones on. Sorry to cut you off, people. Let's get Dante. Your take. Cyclops, right or wrong?
Honestly,
Enrique, you need headphones.
The way that they set up Cyclops in the films, you saw them write him off before he jumped on to Superman Returns.
Right.
Okay, so that's part of the reason you saw him being a jerk and a real a-hole. And they basically went, okay, you know what? We're going to write him this way, and we'll kill him off because James has to go do Superman Returns.
Right. In
the comics, though, when it comes to like Avengers X-Men, the Avengers saw the Phoenix Force, got scared witless, went, oh my God, we have to stop this. They show up to the X-Men Island. Cyclops and the characters having the care for Jean that they did was like, no, we're not going to let you do this. We love Jean.
But they also knew the Phoenix Force on a level the Avengers didn't. The Avengers are playing in a battlefield they have no clue about. The X-Men were the experts. Like, look, we know what we're dealing with. You don't.
I agree, but that's how they wrote it. And when you start going through the story, you're going, wait a minute. What the? And literally halfway through that story, I was just sitting there scratching my head a lot of the time going, why am I buying this?
Right. By the way, I'm just saying this right now. Iron Man beating Magneto is the stupidest freaking thing I've ever read in my entire freaking life.
Hey, considering if Wolverine couldn't kick Magneto's ass, and that's just a simple, let's pull the metal out of Wolverine, how the hell is Iron Man in his iron suit?
Well, how about this? Magneto can take the your blood.
How iconic was that, him taking the adamantium from Wolverine, too?
I have a fan suit and a satellite, so I beat Magneto. Magneto could take on Avengers by himself. That's another thing. That's more bad writing. You ready? Dumbing down the power set of villains once they become heroes. There was a time where Magneto could take out a whole team of X-Men or Avengers by himself. He becomes an X-Man, and he can't. There was a time where Submariner took out all the Avengers by himself, fought the Hulk toe-to-toe, and now he's an X-Man, and he can't. You had Submariner, Magneto, Rogue, who in Avengers Annual beat all the Avengers by herself. Those three alone, and the X-Men are struggling to beat the Avengers, they would have smacked the crap out of them.
Agree.
I think
it should have been much more. It should have been a bigger fight.
The only time I saw them act the way they should have and fight the way they should have, and I'm going to go all the way back to Secret Wars, when the Avengers and the X-Men first got kind of together. And the Avengers are like, guy's got a cape on his chest. We're going to keep in the background and do our own thing. And by the way, we can toss you around if we really wanted to. Magic hammer or no.
But the other thing about Secret Wars, though, is I remember when the X-Men, Spider-Man took out all the X-Men by himself. That's obviously a person who likes Spider-Man a lot.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, if you look at Spider-Man 161, Nightcrawler's fighting him toe-to-toe. And maybe I'm a little biased, but I mean, it just... we gotta, writers need to be more objective. You have a favorite character that's great, you want to spotlight them more, great, but you don't elevate them just because you like them and downplay somebody because you don't.
That's what we were just talking about, Phil. The whole problem that this writer comes on, goes, I don't like this character, so I'm gonna make him less, and then he'll take the characters he does like, and I'm gonna make him more. And especially if they had an issue, because we're all comic people, so if they were reading books before and they didn't like a certain thing, if they like Jean Grey with Wolverine or something like that, then they're going to go in that direction.
Right. Enrique, any thoughts?
Well, I stopped reading Marvel in a while.
You're smarter
What the hell are you doing on here?
No, but for me, actually, the thing is, as a writer, I would be more inclined to actually go to write the character I not dislike, but have less empathy for, because I would find it to be more interesting, because it's easy to write what you like.
Right. I agree.
So if I were to say, like, for example, I'm not a fan of, let's say, of Cyclops, all right? I think he's a whiny little brat and stuff like that, for example.
All right, well, good night, Enrique. Take care.
No, but let's say that's my opinion.
Technical
difficulties. All right? Let's say that's what I think. Then it would be really interesting to try to take him and see why would I have that impression of him. What backstory could there be that could promote that he would have this kind of attitude? Maybe he went through a trauma, maybe there was something that happened to him that can make it interesting, that I could bring it to the forefront, and then it will make my disliking of a character more interesting for me, because then I'm trying to find out, why do I dislike him? Why is he like that? It also works when you deal with people. Like, there's sometimes
like we don't like you and we want to still hang around with you to try to see why we don't like you.
That's right. So what the heck? They're trying to figure it out.
It's really smart, actually.
Sometimes you just don't know why.
Right.
It works both ways. Sometimes you just meet a person and you feel like you've known them forever, and other times you meet somebody and you don't know why they give you that.
Dude, Dante and I, we met briefly and we were cool right away. I mean, Dante's a pretty cool guy like that. What's that?
Yeah,
through Buzz.
Yeah, but again, it was just, we met through Buzz, but it linked. But you're right. But as a good writer, I think you have to get out of your comfort zone, and I agree with you 100%. Absolutely. And what better challenge to show your chops as a writer, to take someone that you're totally disinterested in and put them on a map?
It's so funny because, one of the things I do, especially with my show, The Written Writ, is that, I've always liked challenging myself. I want to be able to take something that's nothing and write it. If I'm going to take a character I don't like, I'm going to work, like he said, I'm going to work on that character. I'm going to see, why don't I like him? Where's this coming from? Who is this person? You want to dive into them. I've never understood the selfishness of either trying to make a mark on a character that somebody else has created, or trying to downgrade anything you don't like. And as fans, we run into those hardcore fans who once they like somebody or they don't like somebody, they're gonna try to rip them to shreds or make them higher. You know what I'm talking about. We all have that.
Right. But then again, it goes to what I was saying about writing with bias. So go ahead, Dante.
Well, here's the thing about that. You can have a story that's written amazingly, and then as soon as it twists one little nerve in somebody, they'll flip out.
Oh yeah.
Superior Spider-Man, Nick Spencer's Cap Run, the Hail Hydra Cap. Great stories. If you read them, you go, oh my God, this was well written. This was planned out. This was good. Now, everyone loves Superior Spider-Man. They'll say, oh, it was a great read. At the time, I was watching people giving Dan Slott death threats.
Yeah.
Same with Nick Spencer.
Mm-hmm.
Because they act like the characters are real and they don't realize, look, it's a character. There's essence to the character. The only thing is you have to remember, they're fictional. They're not real people.
Wait a minute. What? They're not real.
Yeah, I know. No, but they're fictional characters.
What the hell, man? You just destroyed me.
And then here's the one thing. Also, if you've been a long timer like me and Phil, and I can't speak for everyone else, but I know Phil's been a long timer. When you read these stories, they're going to put the toys back in the sandbox.
Yeah.
They're not going to break them and go, okay, screw it, next guy. Like, except for maybe the Bendis run when he outed Daredevil, and then you had Lark coming in with Brubaker trying to fix that.
Yeah.
But you get what I'm saying? Like, the toys will be put back the way they were. Even with Iron Man just now, with Dan Slott, with Iron Man 2020. If you read the book, Dan did a ton to Iron Man. Also, he put the toy back in the sandbox the way he found it, so the next guy can do it.
Well, you know, on that topic, when Matt Rosenberg was writing the X-Men, they told him that Hickman was going to be coming in and doing this big thing, and he was supposed to put them back in the sandbox properly for Hickman. Do you know Matthew Rosenberg did not? He killed some characters, and Hickman goes, "Hey, dude, what are you doing? You weren't supposed to kill these guys. I need them." But so I don't know how that played into Hickman's pod people or not. So sometimes they don't put them back in the sandbox neatly.
I've seen it a bunch of times.
You all right there, Pete?
Right. What I was thinking, you know how you could avoid all this trouble about people getting angry and stuff? Real simple. Is stop giving this false illusion of continuity and just decide that, look, I'll use the example of the movies. People will come around and say, well, look, I like the Tim Burton, Michael Keaton version over Christopher Nolan's with Christian Bale. That's fine, but they should do that in the comics. They should just say, look, we're going to give this team a run for whatever they want to do with this character, and that's going to exist in this series, this 10 pages, these whatever it is, and leave it there. And then the next person comes in, he says, look, if he kills the Joker in this one, doesn't matter, because the next team, it'll be back and continue it. Because in reality, there is no continuity today. There's nothing like you used to have to go. No. And if I was starting today to write Batman, I would have to go back to the Bible and read everything before and make sure, okay, who's where, who's alive, who's dead, who's missing, and go. Now there's no way of doing that because they're constantly in flux. And I don't mind that. What I mind is that they're constantly trying to sell us this continuity thing, and it's bogus. It really doesn't exist. The closest they probably would have gotten to it had they done the Generations thing for DC, in which every character was at their exact age as time was going by, and therefore you could have maybe a 70-year-old Batman today. So we would have a Dick Grayson, probably middle-aged, and maybe a little Jason Todd running around. Who knows? But so the thing is that would have worked a lot more realistically, but sales-wise, probably wouldn't have worked.
Well, I don't know. See, Pete had suggested something on one of my threads on a post of mine one day, and I thought it was actually brilliant. You have the anthology, yeah. You have the anthology. Yeah, I'm going to give you credit, Pete. You know, even though you went away to Wiz, but
sorry.
Well, look, you have your anthology book out now, Stupendous.
That's
nice
Enrique.
Plug for you, right, Enrique? Nice plug. So Pete had suggested an anthology type thing where it's kind of like the Marvel 2-in-1 in a way, but the title would come out every month, maybe even have 2 books, and it would do a different creative team doing a short story arc of 2 or 3 issues. Pick whatever hero you want. We get Shazam for 3 months in a row, then we get the Metal Men, and when they're dropping out some titles, right? Well, we're going to lose some people like Hawkman, etc. This would be a way to still get your fix of them. And there you go, Stupendous. And you'd get the creative teams switching up where it solves that continuity issue they have, but appeases the fans. And if you treat it like a what if or whatever at the same time, you can write whatever the hell story you want with no continuity. Go ahead, Dante.
Basically, Marvel Comics presents DC.
Hang on, Dante's next. Go ahead.
Yes,
so basically, Marvel Comics presents DC.
Exactly, but that's what I said. Kind of like the Marvel Presents. They got away from those books. Why not do them again? Why not bring them back?
Yeah. And DC had its own version of Marvel Comics Presents because DC had DC had all the different universes they were playing with. So you have to go. Well, this is Earth 2. This is Earth whatever. Right. And it was more fun because you were able to jump to where you wanted to go. I like this story better, so I want to play over here. And sometimes you like the sandbox that you're in. Right. You like certain things of it, and I feel like if you have this kind of setup, like you're saying, you can
lose the restrictions.
Yeah.
I'm going to address this first, and then we're going to go round robin, starting with Rafael, then Pete, then Dante, then Enrique. Okay. I hope I pronounce your name right. I'm sorry if I don't. Friends, he's on my friends list. Cooksug Davis said DC or Marvel is one better in their writing. What I would say is, if you looked back in the Silver Age and Bronze Age era, Marvel hands down was the better writer. They were more in tune with the realism of characters. Peter Parker struggling to pay his rent, etc. I do think there were moments where DC was on the ball, like we mentioned before, Neil Adams with Speedy being a drug addict, etc. But overall, they were more goofy, more out of the realm, more super-tastic, way too much. I think towards the end of the 90s, DC started getting grittier. And then they started to write more on the level after Identity Crisis again. This is why I think this was a key book. They started to really write on the level that Marvel did. And I think things started switching. And Marvel, because it was so focused on the rights issues with movies like X-Men and Fantastic Four, started writing like crap because they didn't want you to promote the movies because they wanted those studios to fail to get the rights back. So I think they've been constantly a seesaw. One is better than the other, one is better than the other. There might have been brief moments where they're both on par and doing well, but overall it's a seesaw for me. And again, it's because of the different agendas. It's because of the different editors. It's because of the different companies that have now bought them out. And I think that that would be my answer. So we're going to go to Rafael first for the answer to this.
I completely agree with you. I feel like, it's a seesaw when it comes to this question because Marvel was on top at one point, then DC was on top at another point, then Marvel came back, and then DC came. Because it's funny, and there were probably a couple of times where both DC and Marvel were like in a good place. But I think, like you were saying, Phil, it depends on what teams you have, who the editors are. There's so much to take in, because it's not just about the writing. I wish it was, but you can have a great writer write a great story for one comic company, or for even themselves, and then they come write for another comic company, and for some reason it's like crap. You sit there going, "What happened? This guy's a great writer. Why is this crap?" And sometimes it's because the company itself is getting involved in whatever book they're in, and other times it's just because maybe they don't do well in the other company.
Actually, one point I want to make, I forgot too, is Marvel does not sign long-term contracts for writers, and they certainly only freelance artists, where DC will freelance artists, but they will give contracts to some artists, and they do give them to writers. I know that's going to change with DC, but for a while, DC they had the exclusive contract with Snyder. They just did with Bendis. That affects it too. The business end of it. Are you, because when you lock in top-notch writers for a long period of time, you have more consistency, as opposed to where Marvel has been, you'll have a great cover and then crappy art on the inside, and then a good writer and then the bad writer follow up. And, so I think that has a lot to do with it. Pete, thoughts?
I'm going to say neither, but I agree a little bit that Marvel was in the 70s, 70s, 80s, Marvel. I think DC was always a little darker, a little edgier, and kind of more my cup of tea. Just a little bit, but yeah,
darker in the gold and silver age.
More in the late 80s, early 90s. I'm kind of fitting in your
darker in the 90s. Yeah.
I'm fitting into your timeline for sure with that. But definitely, it's weird to say now because a lot of writers are going back and forth with teams and stuff. But I don't think either company really. In the last few years for sure, but in the last couple of years, definitely, because people keep thinking the two company thing. Guess what? When those 7 guys walked into both offices and told Marvel and DC to kick rocks and formed Image, that's where the better writing came from. That's where the better art came from because it was creator owned.
Well, I'll say art, but not writing.
Well, no, in the beginning, no, because those guys just weren't there. But then they got better. They got a lot better. They got a guy who walked in there, told them that he was doing an alien story. Next thing you know, we got one of the best comic books that ever happened.
He had to lie.
He had to lie because, and you know what? They were right. A zombie book wouldn't, the way zombie books were done back then, wouldn't have worked. When Kirkman told them, "Oh, issue 8, the aliens come," okay, well, give them a try. And guess, Walking Dead, the books. I'm not going to talk about the show because, but the books are. I'm sorry. I understand that it's 2 different universes and it's great, but I read the books and He was supposed
better.
Carl was supposed to die years ago. Not Carl. Glenn was supposed to die years ago. Leave us alone. But anyway, I digress. I think the writing and the fact that it's creator owned and creator controlled. I think the writing that you get from Image, Paper Girls,
right, seven.
Tokyo Ghost.
Jeromo Pena and what's the seven?
I know exactly what you're talking. I just can't get that.
Dante, what's the book? Seven to Eternity. Seven to Eternity, and then of course you have Saga.
Yeah, Rat Queen, Invincible, Rat Queens, just so many. Even still,
Neck.
Savage. Yep, Savage Dragon. Even Savage Dragon
Southern
and Spawn,
Bastards.
Yeah, even Savage Dragon and Spawn have been towing the line in regards to their writing and the things that they produce, because there's, they own their thing and they don't have that corporate overload, which is now Mickey Mouse for one, and
well, think about it though. Those are the two books that lasted from the 90s because those were the ones that did have the good writing. The other ones were just beautiful to look at.
They also had the two smartest. And I'm not saying Jim Lee wasn't smart, but I think Jim Lee has a different point of view. Jim Lee has a world, but not even a world building. I think Jim Lee has sees things a lot differently in a whole world for everybody. Where guys like Todd, not Eric Larson, I think Eric Larson is smart on his own, but I think Todd saw things of how can I make the Todd universe bigger for everybody, where Jim Lee sees how can I make the whole comics universe better for everybody. I think that's where they were a little bit different. And Rob Liefeld sees, bunnies. But anyway.
I like Rob.
Listen, I'm going to be clear about this. I'm a show promoter.
I've never
wants these people at my show. Let's not knock people, please.
I'm not bad mouthing him at all. His Twitter is my favorite.
I am going to say this though, real quick, to digress. Rob Liefeld, whatever you hear and say about him, all I can say is the times that I've dealt with him, he's been nothing but a gentleman and cool with me and shown me respect.
I have tons
and he could have easily I'm saying this for seriously. I'm not saying this for damage control because you're the one who's you're just joking.
I'm not done with my sentence.
But he actually he gave me his undivided attention when he had a huge line at New York City Comic Con of hundreds of people to talk about my show, and he didn't have to do that. So I know what I see and I know what he tweets and I know what he hears, what I hear, but going by what he's been with me. Rob Liefeld has shown me respect that he could have just been like, yeah, whatever, I'm busy. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Well, and I know you were just teasing. Don't worry.
He wasn't teasing. I haven't even finished my sentence yet, though. So he saw bunnies, but his Twitter is incredibly entertaining and informative. You can learn things from the inside of the business from his Twitter, and when he gets on a rant, because he's coming from a genuine place because he loves what he's doing. That's a guy I want to follow. That's a guy I want to listen to. Hell, that's a guy I'll work with.
And that's damage control.
At the same, no, it's not, because it would have been if I hadn't finished my sentence, but I hadn't gotten a chance to finish my sentence.
Pete, I'm teasing. Relax.
Twitter is fantastic. He's still talented as hell, and I still think he's talented as hell. I think any guy who started at that age, that young, and have that much fame right away. I mean, some of us are old enough in here to remember the Levi's commercial. The guy is super talented, and I love his passion, and to be honest with you, I think anybody who knows me in this room knows that I can empathize 100% about when your passion gets in the way of what you think, before you say anything and gets you in trouble, because I know it's definitely happened to this guy right here. So that's why I actually enjoy Liefeld. I can't wait to see what he does next or what he has to say next, because it's going to be on point, and I think he's got his finger on the pulse of things.
I just listen to his podcast.
Yeah, I've listened to it. I think the guy has some kind of outside the box thinking that I actually really respect.
All right, we're digressing from the question though.
Yeah, Image.
DC or Marvel, is one better in their writing?
Over the years, I would say Marvel, but the problem is, as we've gotten to where we are now, the industry is so interlocking where one guy can work at Marvel and then he'll work at DC 6 months later. Or one guy's working at both companies at the same time. So you can't be like, oh, well, the writing's better here, the writing's better there. It's, you know what I mean? Like apples and oranges almost. They're just playing with different toys.
Playing in the sandbox, yeah.
You know?
Enrique, you done looking at porn?
No, I'm not. Never. I'm actually getting my stuff done for tomorrow. My deadline's tomorrow.
Enrique, Marvel, is one better in their writing?
Neither. I'm also like Pete. I don't think any of them have ever really been good. I look at maybe sporadically you get a decent writer doing good stuff for a while. And if I were to choose, I would say the Vertigo line was probably one of their best stuff that DC ever produced under Neil Gaiman and all those other guys who worked there.
That was trend-setting.
Hellblazer and all that stuff. And how coincidentally that it's one of the things that DC killed recently. So you got to wonder where the ideas are going, because all the good stuff, at least when I remember it, is disappearing, and like I was talking on my show a little while ago, all I'm buying now is Kickstarter and Indiegogo, because that's where the better stuff is. Reality, you know what you're getting. You can see it from, and you invest. You go like, yeah, I know this person loves what he's doing because he owns it. The artist owns it. They are producing it because they want to, and it's not under some kind of corporate agenda. Some of them are corporates, like the Coffin Comics. They are an entity, but at the same time, they're doing their own thing. They're steering with their own ship. So I think there was a lot of great writers at one time. Denny O'Neil, you had obviously you had Jim Starlin doing Batman for a while. You have the time that one of my favorite writers is not even one of the more popular heroes, is from Michael Fleischer for doing John Hex. I think some of his work was absolutely top of the notch, influencing a lot of the resurgence of the westerns that came out later in the late 80s and 90s. So I think a lot of the stuff was there, but like everything else, it's that I think nowadays when you have an identity and that you don't think that the monthly periodical is your priority. What you want to do is produce a trade paperback. You don't care until it's produced as this. So you can sell it through Barnes and Noble and Amazon. So sometimes I don't remember if it was Pete or somebody we talked about, like today it takes you 5 issues to get what we used to get in one years ago. And it's just like, it's like the famous I think it was Batman 50, the one of the supposed wedding. How long do you need to be swimming in the water, and how many pages do you need to show that? And you're having the honeymoon.
Or just look at the dialogue. If you pick up a book like the new Defenders, I was just rereading those issues recently with DeMatteis. There was a lot of dialogue, but it wasn't like dummy down dialogue, talking down to the reader like I'm going to walk over here. It was characterization. It was the interaction of the characters. They have dummied down and gotten rid of a lot of dialogue now. You'll be lucky if you get 1 word or 2 word bubbles in a panel now, and then it's all art. You know what I mean? Like there's not as much writing involved in books anymore, if you've noticed, and that hurts characterization.
I miss editor's notes.
The one from the store here.
What's that?
Editor's notes.
Yeah. Well, they've gotten rid of all that, and I think that's all part of because we don't want to face continuity. We're not going to pay somebody to be a historian of comics.
That's
by the way, what's that, Dante?
That's genuinely a shame, because here's the thing. When we were kids, right, and I can only speak for myself, I grew up in 77. So I would go back issue hunting for early Avengers, early X-Men stuff to read because I wanted to know the history.
Exactly.
Right. Now you have books where you get 15 to 30 issues. That's a volume. Now you get another volume. Now you get another volume.
And you don't even know how
want
to keep track of the volumes. I don't even know how to keep track. Like if you told me right now that there was the X-Men with the vampires and Jubilee and all that, and then there was a volume after that, I don't remember the order they went in.
Exactly. But then you have issues. But here's the thing. This is where I get irked as a fan, is that I watch somebody like Donny Cates is the new big name. Everyone seems to adore Donny. I love his redneck. I've been trying to read his Marvel stuff. He jumped onto Guardians of the Galaxy for 12 issues. My thinking was he was doing an ongoing. This was going to be a 20, 30 issue story. You got 12 issues, and then he's like, oh, I'm done. I'm going to do Thor. And it's like, well, dude, you just wasted a year of my life because you could have just put this in a trade. I didn't even need to read the issues.
Right.
Yeah.
I completely understand what you guys are saying, because recently, Red Locust is the reincarnation or the redo of the old Spanish superhero Chapulín Colorado. And I was like, oh, cool, this is interesting. So I went looking for it in the Champion storylines, not knowing that it was different volumes of Champions. And it was so hard to find the book because you're like, oh, it's in issue 9, but there's like 3 different issue 9s. I was like, what the heck is this? You know, in the old days, if I'm looking for something, you go, okay, it's an issue so and so, you go get it. That's it. You know, I feel like now it's like, you know, especially as a collector, you know, trying to find something, it's like, unless you know exactly how it happened and what's going on, you're kind of lost.
Right. By the way, I got 2 good questions, one from Dell and one from Evan. So when you're done, Dante, we'll get to them. No, Dante, speak first. Go ahead.
No, but here's the thing. For me as a kid, right? Because now I'm in my mid-40s. When I was going collecting and I was doing everything, they would tell you read issue 128 of X-Men. And I would bust my ass trying to find that issue to find out what happened.
They would revert you to that. They would direct you. If you want to know the backstory to this, go to there. Right.
Yeah.
And now, like, and this is the only thing. I'm not a big fan of digital. Like, I don't download digital before I read it. I want a physical book in my hands. But if I want to go back, if I want to look back, if they mention an issue number, I can go on the Marvel app and look up FF number 2 if they mention it and go, okay, now I know what they're talking about. Instead of spending $5,000.
They don't want to pay a historian to have to look back to be able to put those footnotes that we used to do. They don't want to do that. And they also don't want to be beholden to continuity. It's kind of like the Star Trek reboots that J.J. Abrams did. It's easy to just, it's easy to just alter the universe and not be confined to the constraints of history and just do your own thing. And that's part of lazy writing, which is what Ralph we were all talking about. So I'm with you.
Too. Right? Exactly. Lazy editing. Editors used to do it. It wasn't just a historian. We had an editor.
That's why it was the editor's note, because the editor would keep track of all this stuff.
Exactly. So Dell put out it could be a very controversial question, but let's talk about it in a polite way. Are they focusing too much on mainstream social justice, like including LGBT or female leading roles, rather than focusing on comics for better writing? Now, I'm going to take this first. Okay. So, they made North Star in the 90s gay. It made sense. It made sense to make that character gay. His attitude, the way his personality, you could see it. It was fine. So I don't think bringing in a gay character, writing in a gay character is an issue at all. What is an issue is forcing in a gay character. Like making Iceman after 50 years gay. That's just Brian Michael Bendis doing something that is not good writing. It's lazy writing. Give me create a new gay character. Okay? It's not diversity is the issue. It's how are you injecting that diversity? Is it natural like Giant Size X-Men #1? That's as diverse as it gets. But it was natural. It felt good. It made sense. These people did deserve to have a voice, right? But when you're taking a character established for 50 years as heterosexual, making them gay, I don't know. And then the Iceman solo book didn't make it because the whole story was about him being gay. People are not defined by their sexuality. If you're gay, you're also a lot of other things in life. It's not just your sexual orientation. And for you to write a book that's solely around your sexual orientation, to me, that's disrespectful, actually insulting, because you're so much more than just who you're attracted to, right? You wouldn't write a heterosexual. It wouldn't be all surrounded by your heterosexual relationships. That would be one aspect. So it's not about pushing diversity. It's the writing of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you have a gay character and you introduce their partner, that's part of writing.
Exactly.
But if the whole story, every issue is about them being gay, you're now defining them by being gay, and they're not humans anymore. They're this gay person. That doesn't make sense to me. You know, am I making that? Is that coming out right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And when you take a black character, and when you take a white character and you make them black, that's lazy. You're telling me you don't have faith in creating a new, or taking Sam Wilson or somebody, a great character, or Bishop, or Luke Cage, or Storm, or Black Panther. You're telling me that with all the black characters, or look at the whole Milestone universe. They're sitting there in the background, but you want to make a white character black because you want to steal their mythos. That's lazy, and that's disrespectful in my mind. You got the Milestone universe. Pull them out. You can create black characters that people can relate to, that are strong and written well, and they're their own character. They're not writing the mythos of somebody else. They're creating their own. so that 20 years from now I can say that character is awesome on his own merit or her own merit, not because they stole the mythos of Captain America. And I'm sorry, that might upset people, but that's how I see it. I don't care what color. Some of my favorite characters. Bishop is one of my favorite characters. Always has been. By the way, he was supposed to be Filipino. Will Spatacio is Filipino. He created Bishop. He wanted him to be Filipino, and Marvel said, nope, we don't have enough black characters, make him black. I guess they didn't care about Filipino readership at the time, but that's another story. So it's what you're doing in regards to the context. You know what I'm saying? I think people are too sharp on either side about this. Diversity is strength. It is good. It is good to have different, because real life is not white bread. This panel is mostly Latino, and then you got the pale Irishman, and none of us give a shit.
And the Albanian guy.
There you go. But do any of us give a shit? I see Enrique, Raph, Pete, and Dante. I don't even know technically what nationalities everybody are, and I don't care. And that's what comics should be. Have a Latino character, but it doesn't have to be everything is centered around them being Latino. You're not defined by being Latino. You're defined by being Rafael.
Yeah.
That's it.
But
and that's
I agree with you, Phil. The thing is organic diversity. If you're going to create a character, give me a character that you're creating, like a Batwoman, Cat Kane. When she got introduced in 52, you were like, wait, what's this? And then as they built forward and they gave her own series and they had her doing stuff in Detective, you were like, wow, this is a great character. But you had great creators working on the character.
Right.
And they treated her like their baby. Like even with like Robbie Rodriguez and Jason Latour and Spider-Gwen, It was them creating their baby, and they put their heart into it. When you just have, like, with the Bendis thing with Iceman, look, I love Cena Grace. I think Cena's a great guy. I love him to death. Whenever I see him in a show, I love talking to him. The thing is, he wrote Iceman. I was reading that book because Cena's a friend, and I try to support my friends. I agree with you to a point about that, because, yeah, it was Bendis that changed it. Mm-hmm. But the fact is, Bendis changed that with the young Bobby. That was coming through time, not our current adult Bobby. And then when they changed the adult, it was like, wait a minute, this is being forced. The kid, yeah. The adult, because now you have different timelines. Because they've always told us in the X-Men books, you have different timelines.
And the way he was outed is she reads his mind and she brings him out of his denial. It's like, you mean you've gone this many years and you don't know you're gay? What?
I was a kid growing up reading X Factor. I remember when he was dating that the news reporter Trish Tilby.
Yeah. He had several, and he had a crush on Jean Grey, like they all did in the beginning. They all had a crush on her. They used to be jealous of each other around her.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
But the thing is, if you give me organic diversity, like see, I'm Albanian American. There's not been one Albanian character in comics that I can go, see, that's my guy, because no one's ever thought of doing that. You know what I mean?
Well, why would you need to, right? You don't need to. Albanian isn't what would make you connect to somebody, right? It would be
I agree, but
feelings and trials and tribulations you do.
I agree, but the thing is, as a young kid, if they see something they can identify with, they can go, okay, this is my guy. Like with wrestling. If you walk into wrestling as a fan of wrestling, like they mentioned in the chat, you see a guy, you go, I identify with this guy. I like this guy. I'm going to follow this guy. You know what I mean?
But like when I looked at Banshee as an Irishman, I didn't feel more connected to Banshee for being Irish. I felt connected to characters that were going through what I was going through emotionally or mentally, and that was black, Chinese, it didn't matter. And it's kind of funny because we don't want to, we're talking about segregating and pointing out this race and this race, but when we say that I have to identify with a character because they are of my race, we're transcending the human race. There are Latino characters that I can relate to, and it doesn't matter if they're Latino, they're human. They feel my pain, my sorrow, my loss, my insecurity, my triumph.
I've had head injuries. Maybe I'm not saying it right. What I'm saying is if you have a little kid, right, and they see someone that looks like them, right, they'll be quicker to buy a book. Yeah. If you're 6, 7 years old You see, if a Latino kid sees a Latino hero, they'll read the Latino hero because they identify with it.
Isn't that starting at a young age forming these boxes we're putting ourselves in, though?
To a point, yeah, but also the kids surrounded by their family, which is all their ethnicity. So if they see a character that matches their ethnicity, they feel like it's more like I'm dealing with a cousin or I'm dealing with a relative.
But that's what they did with white people. White people with a major demographic of buying comics that day. That's why you didn't have a lot of black characters, because black people weren't buying the comics, whether it was because of, poverty or things going on at the time, or whatever the case may be, who knows. But it was whitewashed back then because those were the consumers. Girls weren't into comics for many years, so you didn't have a lot of really prominent female characters. I don't think that's sexism. It's catering to your demographic. But now girls are more into reading comics, so they're starting to introduce it more.
But the thing is, we also had the romance books back in the 30s. In the 40s, we had the romance. We had Millie the Model. We had this. We had that.
I have a couple of female friends that will show you.
That was because
no, I'm not saying it's a dick. I'm saying this. I remember buying these.
No, I know what you're talking about.
And back issues.
The demographic for romance stories was young teenage girls, though. It wasn't boys.
Yeah.
You're feeding a demographic. You're not feeding a race or gender. It's money. The only color that matters is green.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's the same. You can use that for now too. You have these people look the whole thing with Black Panther and the actor dying. The movie came out and you had this new demographic that saw a black superhero, and they're like, "Whoa, he looks like me," And I understand where you're coming from, Phil, but there's also the concept of you see somebody, maybe not you personally, but you see somebody that looks like you. You go, "I can be this," especially if you didn't think you could be this before.
But that's because we're conditioned in our boxes. What if I'm a 4-year-old white kid and Superman was black? Wouldn't I maybe see, and I do already, but would maybe more people see black people as just another person because they were introduced at 4 to a black person in a way that I'm not introducing a black hero, I'm just introducing a hero.
Well, yeah, that's why I feel like Black Panther works the best. Because Black Panther was black from the get-go. He's a black superhero from the 70s.
Right.
So all these other heroes who are being changed and whatever, I have my issues with it. But Black Panther is actually a black character from it's what we're talking about. There's all these heroes, and we just did this recently for Con, where we sat there and we broke down how many black superheroes there are. And there's a lot of black superheroes that are sitting there collecting dust because nobody is doing it.
Monica Rambeau.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Was awesome. Mm-hmm. And she just disappeared off the earth for how many years, and then they made her photon out of nowhere and didn't even let you know that's the character.
Next Wave Agents of Hate was probably one of my favorite reads. And the sad part is, right after that book was done, you never saw her since.
And again, there's so many black superheroes. There's so many Spanish superheroes. There's so many. It's so funny because when we went to do the show, it was a tribute to Bossman, but at the same time, we were looking at minority superheroes. There are so many of them that are just sitting there. Maybe sometimes they bring them out of the mothballs for whatever reason, but they're just sitting there doing nothing. Black Panther was one of them. He's from the 70s, and as much as he's been in the Avengers over the years, he was delegated to this side hero type of thing, right. And then finally somebody said, "Let's make a Black Panther movie," and I'm like, okay, this is like a no-brainer here. This thing should have probably been done ages ago. But again, it's that concept. These guys were made to be who they are. They weren't changed into who they are. I'm not saying that you can't change certain superheroes to something else. Like if you're a Green Lantern and you're a black Green Lantern, that makes sense to me, because that's part of the organic story that's growing forward. And it goes back to what we were saying in the beginning, Phil. It's all about the writing. If right. And the same thing with this question here. Social issues, all these things have been in comics for ages and ages.
Ages.
They were in the book as part of the story. The difference now is that they're doing these stories that it's about the topic instead of being organically moved forward. I learned a lot about the whole issue with racism because of reading X-Men.
Yep.
The whole muties and that whole hatred towards the mutants. It fit into what I was going through. And at the same time, I was like, oh my God, look at this. How can people be like this to other people? It was an organic issue coming out of writing of a story.
But that goes back to what I was saying is when it was written, though, it was written from an objective point of view. It just puts you in the middle of the two sides and what was going on. And you as a reader determined what was right about it, what was wrong about it, who was right about it, who was wrong about it.
Exactly.
Writing now, the writer's being subjective, and they're injecting their opinions into the situation. Comics have always mirrored the social climate of the time.
Exactly.
That is fine. That's what every industry does. All pop culture mirrors the moment, the time, captures that picture of time. That is good. That is fine. Address these issues. They must be addressed.
Exactly.
But as a writer, you have a moral obligation, like a journalist, to just present the story. Let the reader form their own moral code. The writer isn't supposed to be biased in how they present things. They're not. Present the story, because bad is bad and good is good, and people will recognize bad when they see it.
Exactly.
They don't tell you it's bad.
But also, here's the one thing you have to remember. The writer could have written that story, and then editorial or management says, no, we don't want that, we want this. Like, best example, the Batman, the Batwing magazines, where like they showed Bruce naked, and then all of a sudden AT&T flipped out and they neutered the entire Black label.
Right.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's definitely, I think the word for this is definitely organic. And the two things that pop into my mind are two characters that were introduced not because of the color of their skin, but because of what they were. First is Blade. He kills vampires. He's the Daywalker. It could have been anybody. It just so happened that Blade was black. That's just the way it was.
And nobody cared.
But here's the thing. Again, organic. They didn't talk about it. They didn't say, oh, they didn't focus on what he looked like. They focused on what he did. The second one, and then the one that resonated with me because it came first, Spawn. You didn't know Al Simmons was black because Spawn was doing this and Spawn was trying, especially those first 10 episodes of Spawn, those issues of Spawn. You're like, this is great. What's going on?
Very well written.
Oh, let's go flashback. Okay. I didn't know that. I didn't notice that Al and his family were black because I was like, okay, what happened to Al? What did Malbosia do? What's going on now? What's Violator going to do next? That's what I cared about. That's organic. And like you've been saying,
exactly.
Phil, all along, not lazy writing, like thought out writing, going into the depths of let's just make this character. Like when you do your elevator pitch for either your book, your Kickstarter, or whatever, you're talking about your character. If you're going in and you're worrying, well, we're going to make him gay just because, it doesn't really work. You got to let things flow, unless, however, and there is some. And then I know Phil, you might know about this. You might know, kind of, you have younger kids. Raph, you too. There's a Disney show coming out, cartoon, that some parents are upset about because it's about a little girl going to prom and asking her girlfriend to go to prom. And there's a thing about it. And then a lot of people just were like, oh, don't do that, blah, 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 blah. Okay, cool. I get it. I understand that. And yeah, I'm sure you can let your kids or not let your kids watch it. But I like it. And I don't think Disney's trying to push an agenda. I think Disney because I did the research and we looked in, it's very easy to look into it. I forget her name, but the writer, the showrunner, the person who created this thing is a lesbian. And I think she's bisexual, actually. And her cartoon is basically, she's talking about what she went when she was that age. And now she's showing it in a cartoon form because when she was that age, she had nobody to tell her if this was okay, if this wasn't okay, what's going on. So she wants to, not just educate, but show that, hey, you can have these.
What was the age group for this?
I think it was a promise. So it's like late middle school, early or high school.
Or like just around puberty.
Yeah. So you go. I forget what it's called.
This as a father, this is my take on it. Pre-puberty, that's a very vital time for people with a subject like this, because they are confused or they don't have anybody to talk to. I don't have a problem with that, and as long as you make it clear that's what the story is about, because then this is America. I have the right to choose to let my kids watch it or not or whatever. My only issue is when it's in something that a 4 or 5-year-old is going to watch. And this is my issue. It's not that it's gay. It's I don't want any sexualization introduced to my 4-year-old. I don't want it. I don't want a heterosexual. And I don't want to see a boy and a girl kissing from my 4-year-old. I don't.
Hands is even a bit much.
I don't, because it's just not an age where it's and plus, no offense, movies should not be teaching our children. Parents need to step the frig up, and they need to teach their children.
Right, and
I don't want movies teaching my kids. I teach my kids. And you know what I tell my kids? I don't give a crap who you bring home someday. As long as you respect yourself, they'll respect you. And I don't care if they're John, Jane, or whatever, but just love yourself, and you'll surround yourself with people that love and respect you too.
I think Mark Torres said, I think that's Pixar's out. I think it is. I'm not sure. I'd have to really look it up. But
I didn't see it.
I agree. That's exactly an argument I got into with somebody. It was like, well, you're her parent. If you don't want your daughter to watch it, she doesn't watch it.
There are other options.
Yeah, there's plenty of other things out there. But my point is, again, we go back to the organic. It's a story. It's a story that's being told by a storyteller. And it's just, this is the way the story goes. It's not because I'm making a gay, a black, a Latino, a man, a woman, a hawk, a dove, an octopus, because it has to be this. No, I'm telling this story because this is the story I want to tell. When you get that basis, that this is what I want to tell, that organic basis, then it's up, like you said before, it's up to the consumer.
This is my analogy. I had Meredith Finch on the show Friday. Meredith is a very devout Christian. I asked her what inspired her to write the Book of Ruth, and she said God and the Bible. She wasn't pushing it on anybody. She wasn't telling you what you have to believe or do. She just told me what inspired her to write her story.
Right.
So if a woman that went through that struggle at prepubescent age wanted to write a story because she was inspired by her own experience, she's not pushing anything on anybody. She's writing a story based on her experience. And the same way you may say, I'm not Christian, I don't want to pick up the Book of Ruth, although I think it's an inspiring story whether you believe in God or not. You can simply say, I don't have this issue, my kid doesn't relate to this, it's no big deal if you don't watch it. Obviously, you can still teach a kid tolerance and understanding other people with other lifestyles are out there without having to put that story in their face either. But I don't think that person's shoving anything down your throat. They're writing from a place of experience and inspiration. Inspiration comes from many different areas. There are times where things are being pushed at somebody, and that's when people push back. And then what happens is the line gets blurred, and those people that felt pushed look for it in everything. They look for it in everything. And that's when they look at something like this, where it was just a woman trying to express, put an outlet there for something she went through, and they feel, oh, you're pushing this on me. But they're not. You're confusing and conflating the moments that are being pushed on you with someone who's just writing from experience. And let's face it, most people write from experience. But with comic books are different to me. Because nobody experienced being a Superman. Nobody experienced being Batwoman. The realism of the personality, yes, you can relate on that level. So if you want to inject some, like your personal experiences of being gay or whatever the case may be into a book, fine. But if you're making it the whole point of the book, no. Everyone, whether you're gay, black, Asian, Latino, man, woman, whatever, we are all multifaceted. We all have many parts to us, and most of those parts actually intersect. We all feel loss. We all feel insecure. We all feel sad. We all question, why the frig am I here? My
mind's in the gutter. I thought something totally different.
No, but my point is, there's that human basis we all feel that we forget about. And we focus on what separates us in a negative way. And we have to learn to embrace that Latino culture is different than Irish culture. That doesn't make one bad and one good. It doesn't make one better than the other. I can recognize a difference and make a statement that, for example, Latino culture is like a lot of rice and beans. Fair. Am I making fun of you for saying that? No, that's the truth. Some stereotypes are true and some are exaggerated and some are just downright messed up.
That's an on-point observation, the rice and beans, bro.
But the problem is we have blurred the lines and everything now because we just want to fight. We've blurred all the freaking lines, and I really didn't want to go this deep into this, but I am sick of it, and this is why I put my show on. This is where we come and we talk. Dante and I would probably not agree on everything politically. I think Dante's a great guy, and I'm not going to sit there and look at something that he posts and maybe I don't agree, and all of a sudden that makes him not a great guy in my eyes. That's stupid.
I know a lot of people like that.
Yeah, a lot of people.
It's stupid. It's stupid and it's ignorant. And if you look at me, and because see, I have liberal values, I have conservative values. I'm up the middle. I'm not a Republican or a conservative. I don't believe in tribalism. Tribalism is bullshit. It's stupidity. Go ahead,
I can
Don.
only speak for myself. I grew up idolizing George Carlin and listening to all of his stand-up bits, and my thought was he should have been president at least one time.
Right?
At least one time.
That's
Really
it.
quick.
Just put
But if
4
you
years.
If you look at George Carlin, conservatives will say he's a liberal. Moderates will say he's a moderate. He's up the middle, right?
Yeah.
He had liberal views. He had conservative views. You want to know why? Because views are not limited to the box you put them in.
And
People
There is
act
a
like they
middle
are.
ground.
People act like they are.
I'll give you an example. I'm a big believer in God. I have a great belief in God. I also think God created gay people. They are who they are. They're not going to hell. I don't believe they're going to hell. I have a lot of conservative friends that think I'm wrong. I still love my conservative friends. I just don't agree with them. I think a lot of things that you would say are liberal, a lot of things that you would say are conservative. I'm nothing. You know what I am? I'm a free thinker. Because we got to stop being in boxes as I look at you all in boxes, but even still.
I fill mine out pretty well, though. So.
And I'm so fed up with this because I have seen friends stop liking someone that they would have taken a bullet for
Unreal.
4 days ago.
Exactly. I think Mark Torres puts it very well. He goes, yeah, so much hate. I hate those guys.
You know what? As funny as Mark is, he's clever and he's downright absolute correct. We all are using virtue as a weapon. We think our virtue is an excuse and a justification for being that which we are trying to say is wrong.
I do know you may have triggered me, Rafael, and Enrique when you said arroz con habichuela, because now I'm hungry all of a sudden.
He said arroz con habichuela, and I was like, are we eating?
Yeah, I'm like, what? What? I got a plate.
No,
I got a plate.
See, my problem is I quit smoking, so I'm like, I got this little
God,
jewel
bro.
on me, and I'm sitting here like,
Bro, I quit the first day of quarantine. Okay, I haven't had a cigarette since March 27th. No, I got to tell you, I haven't. I think I've only missed it 3 times since March 27th. I feel great. I'm free of those nasty effing things.
yeah, but see, I'm a schmuck, and I did a whole diet and quit smoking and started exercising all at the same time. So.
Cold turkey.
Yeah.
Listen, guys, we've reached 2 hours. This was fun. Enrique was quiet, so I'm shocked. I hope he's okay.
He was doing work.
He's busy. He's working.
Well, I got a deadline.
No,
and I
listen,
wasn't. Nobody was asking my opinion, so I was actually able to be quiet.
we never do, though, for you to speak. Anyway, no, I love Enrique. I'm just kidding. This is what we're going to do to wrap this up. Everybody's going to plug what they got going on if you have something to plug. And then I'm going to have my parting statement before you leave, if you don't mind. Sure. So, Raph, what do you got to plug?
As you know, we are the Bitten Apple. We are covering conventions. We cover artists. We cover writers. We cover everything to showcase, because sometimes the little guy does not get enough coverage. And we want to make sure that we showcase all this great talent that is out there, to showcase it, to show everybody what they may be missing. Because they may be looking at Marvel and DC, but sometimes the little independent guys are the ones writing the great stories or drawing the great art. And we're not seeing it. At the same time, we like to entertain. We like to make you smile. I have my own writing show called The Written Writ, where I take a journey together with you guys to become better writers. And that's why this is where all this started, was because I wanted to take a look at writing in comics and why they continue to go in this direction with the anti-hero and the villain.
And by the way, I want to tell you that the Bitten Apple has been nothing but fantastic to me and my show from the start. I've never received anything but love from you guys. Leslie, Cadma, you guys are awesome. I cannot say enough good things about you all. I have a great deal of respect and love for you guys. Thank you for how you've treated me and my show. I appreciate it. You will always be free press at my show. Now we're going to go over to Pete. Plug away. And your Instagram and Twitter are not fully coming through.
Yeah, they're not fully coming through, but it's easy. It's PEAT11717. That's where you can find me. Very easy. First off, I do want to piggyback off that. Written Apple, and it came from the radio. More than too much love for those guys. I really appreciate it. And then I do want to say this. I'm a big, again, you can go to my Instagram, you can go to my Facebook, PEAT11717. You see all the artwork that myself, my partner Brendan, Fat Guy Inc., that we're putting out, and we're doing things. We have a lot of plans in the works right now. The big plan that we have going on right now, since this is no cons for the rest of the year, this, that, the other thing, and everyone knows that I'm I know the word indie is now for indie comic books a lot. That's the big onus that's happened this quarantine. But I'm doing kind of an underground show for the underground artist, the guy who doesn't have a Pops, that doesn't have a Kickstarter, the cosplayers, the photographers, the writers, all the sculptors, guys like Shadow Rabbit, the collectors, all the other guys that are at cons that don't have comic books, but still are creative and artists and stuff like that. Exactly, Shadow Rabbit. I'm doing a show. It's called The Pit. It's going to start Wednesdays around 10 o'clock. It's a late night show. It's a round table like this. It's really not going to be it's not exactly freeform, but it's going to be a place where we can all sit together and talk about what are you doing, and giving a spotlight like I do with the Indie Art Show, the show that we have at the Nutty Irishman, Mark Torres' favorite show because of the mac and cheese cheeseburgers at the Nutty Irishman. An opportunity for underground artists that normally wouldn't get seen. I'm talking painters, dancers, whatever. I'm going to have musicians, all sorts of people that aren't
pole dancers. You got
whatever. I honestly don't care.
I'm there.
You had me a burger. You had me a mac and cheese burger. I was good.
Phil, see, we went down this similar people, different paths. You married kids. I have dated a lot of strippers because we keep the same hours. So. Not the right show.
Were they dressed when you met them, or
half and half?
I lived in Vegas, so yeah, I know.
Half and half. I bartended for 30 years, so we keep the same hours.
Yeah.
And we all have singles.
Going really bad.
Anyway, again, you can go to my Instagram, you can go to my Twitter, Pete11717. There's a Twitch channel coming. I just bought the camera. Follow me on my Facebook. You'll see all the stuff that's going on there. But Wednesdays on my Facebook starting September 9th is the Pit's going to start at 10 o'clock on Wednesdays on my Facebook. I'm going to stream it from StreamYard, so it's going to go out to a few different places. It's going to be the place for all the underground guys. If you're a painter, a cosplayer, if you like cosplay, if you like sculpture, if you want to, just talk to anybody who has an ounce of creativity in them, even if you only draw stick figures, this is the place for you. It's going to be, I'm throwing this back, and we're all of the right age, where I can say it's basically going to be the Hammerstein Ballroom, the CBGBs of the streaming world for creatives.
I've played CBGBs. I've headlined
I miss that place.
I don't miss that bathroom.
Place.
Don't miss that bathroom. If you've ever seen the bathroom at CBGBs, you'll never go to the bathroom again.
Look, I'm telling you, I miss that bathroom only because I have stickers now for my studio. I would have loved to have gotten my sticker in those studios because you can go to some bars in Manhattan right now and you can see Fat Guy stickers all over every bar.
The walls are covered.
Oh, it's fantastic. I love it.
I've seen those down the hatch, I think.
Yep. Absolutely, you have. Definitely, 100%. So, the Pit, come and hang out, guys. It's going to be fun for everybody.
By the way, Louis Schaefer, Shadow Rabbit, in the chat room, put any links that you want. Mark, you know the deal. You as well. Enrique already did. And then Enrique's still going to I want you to plug yourself too. I can plug for you if you want while you're drawing. But, Louis, put them in there, buddy. Dante, is there anything you want to plug? I mean, I know you don't,
I'm a fan, man. I'm on the fringes of the con world for like 40 years now.
Now, Enrique Lopez, just so you know, he has his – you want me to do it or you got it?
I got it. I have a show. I put it up there, a show on Monday. I just did it a while ago. It's basically me talking with an artist. It's called Inking with Kike. They send me a piece of their on artwork, or we just talk. I've had guests ranging from Mark McKenna, Keith Williams, to mostly young up and coming independent artists. My whole idea is that basically this came out of the feeling of when I used to go to cons and being able to catch up with old friends, and we sometimes don't always see them out there. This is kind of like that, except that we're using the internet to keep in touch. So, because at cons we usually swap pages and stuff and just play around and stuff. So it's actually a nice little show. We do it about for an hour, and I have unlike Bill here, mine is gone. I have already everybody set up through November, and November is going to be very special. I'm going to announce it now here. Is that November is totally female artists. I had noticed that all the artists I've been getting were all male, and except for one, Sarah, who did like the fourth show, and I felt like, wait a minute, there's an untapped group here. I really need to put them in here, and November is going to be really interesting. But what?
I keep inviting a lot of female artists and writers.
No, but but overall, it happens. A lot of people don't like to do the live stuff, and it's just like they freak out. So for November, I'm gonna ask a little group of female artists, starting with Kayla Leanne will be starting it off, then followed by Archie Young, Issa Sid, Van Blue will be on the show. Lula Lucas is going to be on the show.
It is awesome.
And then from yesterday, I met her this weekend on the show at in Beyond. Sammy Castillo will be joining me. So November is going to be a really fun month, and all the way up to now. And I have Chris Williams coming up, Ian Miller, Chris Mad, which I've already been telling people, prepare for that craziness.
Yeah, he's late as usual. Thanks, Chris.
That is going to be off the chart. We're going to be doing a Howard the Duck drawing that night, so it'll be a lot of fun. I know it's in reverse, but this is the Stupendous. You can find it online on my. Actually, you can see it right. Yeah. Stupendous is out. This is like the anthology Pete was talking about. 13 artists, 7 stories. I have a 6-page story, a short story because I'm a writer, and you can get that on my webpage, which I posted it already. And up right now, I'm finishing up. I'm doing the grays on a Horrendous #2. It's another anthology coming out. It'll be out hopefully for Halloween. And next year, I'll be doing 3 stories for the Kickstarter anthology. Going Kickstarter April. I can't go into a lot of the details yet, but I'll be announcing my teams because I got three teams, and I'll be drawing at least one of them. And everything, I'm writing the whole thing, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to announcing that once I get done with Horrendous. So thanks a lot for having me here, Phil. Though I didn't talk a lot, but hey,
I'm shocked.
Your silence spoke volumes.
So here's the deal. To wrap this up. Rafael, I won't explain the situation, but it involved Neil.
If you want to see the video, it's on YouTube at bitandapple.tv.com.
That's not the
I was
website.
expecting OnlyFans.
That's not the website. It's on.
Yeah, just go to Bit and Apple and type in New York Comic Con fan versus Neil Adams. Anyway, but
I'm gonna be good.
From the start, like I said, the Bit and Apple crew has been awesome, and Mark Torres and his crew with It Came From the Radio have been nothing but awesome to me.
Mark!
They've had me on their show many times to promote my show. They're always kind to me. They're always considerate. You guys always have free press for me. So I want to say thank you. Dante has become a friend. He's part of my Rogues Gallery. He's been real cool to me and supportive of my show. He's also a big supporter of the scene and the medium, the industry altogether. So Dante's a good guy. So I can't say nothing but good things about him.
Thank you.
I've known Pete a couple of years now. He was at my first show.
You're 4.
4, right? It goes fast.
I think it's wow, right?
It goes fast. Pete's a good guy. Support him. Support his shows when he has his BarCon back. Support the pit.
Indie Art Show. BarCon is in beer.
Indie Art Show. The pit, that's this September 9th?
9th, yes, sir.
And support his art. We have to support artists. Thanks for coming out, Pete. And Enrique. I bust Enrique's balls, but Enrique's a good guy. We're friends. He's been at my show. He's got some good stuff going on. Please support all the things that he's doing. Yes, right off for everybody, Mark.
I love the look on Enrique's face. He's just like, what the?
So, and go check out Inking with Kike every Monday night at 8 p.m. on Instagram.
It's a great show tonight, by the way.
Now, this show did go a little more of an intense route than I like to go, but I think it was good. I think it was important. I think the whole point of all right, I have Creatorcon, but it's in hiatus, so I don't know when I have Creatorcon. So I'm not promoting my convention as much as you might think. I'm promoting unity. I swear to you I am. I had a rough childhood. Comic books brought me from that. And I know there's others, even on this panel, that did too. And if comic books can give me that, can give me a sense of strength, a sense of conscience, a sense of integrity, and help mold the person I am today, help me get through tough times and know that I can conquer and do it. Isn't that the message? Isn't that the damn message?
Absolutely.
I don't give a crap about all this Facebook hate and everything. This is where we come to remember what we love, why we like each other, why we respect each other. So all I'm going to ask you out there is if you see a friend that you love put up a post that you don't agree with politically, they are still the friend you love. They're still the friend you love. Cut the shit. Stop. This is a safe haven. You're all welcome here anytime. I don't care who you are, what you do. You're an artist, you're a writer. You come on this show. You don't have to be the big name. You could be the small name, the medium name. I don't give a crap. You reach out to me, you come on the show, we have a good time. When we have comics chat, anybody's welcome to chat. You keep it civil, you keep it polite, you keep it friendly, you keep the strength and unity, and we're good. Otherwise, you get cut. But that's the way it is.
Had a blast.
These are good people, and everybody that's watched tonight are good people. And the support I get for the Creatorcon Q&A, the support I get from the Rogues Gallery, the support I see, the people I've met in this industry that are good, God bless you. I appreciate you. I appreciate everything you do. Chris Madd is another one. He's a friend of mine. And he's a friend of mine that I would give him the shirt off my back if he needed it. Good people are out there. A post does not define you. An opinion is only one facet of a whole personality. Cut the shit, people. Having said that, thanks for coming out. I'm glad. I hope everybody had fun.
Had a blast.
Let's love each other. There's one race.
There's so much more to talk about.
There's one race.
I absolutely love you to death, brother. Thank you for this opportunity. And it's funny too, Phil, because 3 years ago, I know you and I were in a rough patch, and look where we are now. Like,
I wasn't going to bring it up.
No. I had kind of hoped you had, but we're not going to talk because it's in the past. But you know what? I consider us friends now because we did the right thing, and we acted like men and we talked, and it was a little messy in the beginning, but we talked and we talked and we talked. And I'm on your show, and you're welcome on mine at any point in time. And it's because, and I said this to you when I was setting up my table in that hotel in Ronkonkoma for your first show. It's because you don't do this because you're looking to pad your wallet. You don't do this because you're looking to name drop. You don't do this because you're looking for clout like a lot of the other people on the internet. You're looking to do this because you love this, you love people, and you're genuinely a good person. If anybody needs, and I joke about it, but if anybody needs to see proof of that, look at the way you act with your kids and your wife. Oh my God, you are the most in love human being I've ever seen with your kids and your wife. And I can't, I don't know what magic you have, bro, but you are one of the happiest guys I see when I see you with your family. And that just shows that you have, that's why this is cool. And that's why this is fun. That's why this diverse group of people can be together. And I really appreciate it. And I thank you for teaching me that lesson because I needed to learn it.
I didn't think I'd have anything that I have today.
Amen to that.
I gave up on the thought that I would have children. I would have a wife. I would have a career. I gave up on it. And I'm telling you, Dante, don't you ever give up.
I'm not giving up. I'm just waiting.
It's round 2. That's right.
But I had to go through 1 before I got to the 2nd. So hey,
you got to appreciate what you have and stop focusing on what you don't have.
Amen.
Because you're not looking at what you have, and then you don't get the time back, and you realize, crap, man, I didn't appreciate it when I had it, and now I don't have it. I'm not going to do that. Not doing that. I'm very lucky with feedback. Someone's mic. Anyway. Look, this has gotten a little soapboxy on my part. I apologize, but sometimes we all get overwhelmed with the negativity, and sometimes I just gotta express it, and I try to do it in a positive way. Hopefully, this is a positive way. I'm also a straight shooter. You're never gonna get anything but honesty out of me. You may not like that honesty, but at least you're gonna get the respect of honesty. That's for sure. Pete knows that.
Yep. Absolutely.
I went straight at Pete. We, with our issue.
We definitely went at each other too.
I didn't hold back, and I told him straight up, and he was receptive, and he said his part, and we were good. And I don't hold grudges. Grudges are a waste of energy.
Exactly. And we hammered it out. Look at us now.
Talked it through.
That's not true. You still got a grudge with me, man. Don't give me that.
I love you, man. There's only one person that I can't get past with forgiveness, and I'm not going to mention that person, but that's just not because of me.
It's like the movie all over again.
Enrique, the only problem is cogió la última empanada. That's the problem. That's what happened.
That's it, man. Empanada, man.
I don't know what the hell he just said. What did he say?
I said you took the last empanada, and that'll get you cut at at one of our houses.
You don't take the last empanada.
That'll get you cut, bro.
Well, look, you're all good people. I wish you to achieve all your dreams. I will see you at the next event, which tomorrow, Creatorcon Q&A, 10 p.m. has Sean Chen. If you don't know Sean, he is an awesome dude.
Aces.
He is very humble. He's the most humble guy, and he's funny as hell.
He had me rolling. I met him at the Forest Hills High School. They did a little con for the high school, and I didn't know he went there. Yeah, I didn't know he went there. So I'm like, wow, they got Sean Chen. And then the guy next to me is like, oh, he went to high school here. So I went over to say hi, and he's like, oh, did you go to high school here too? I was like, nah, I'm from Long Island, but this is cool. And I got to tell you, I can't wait till school comes back and they do that again, because Forest Hill kids know how to throw a party.
He lives in their neighborhood.
Yeah, I was supposed to do that show this year, and unfortunately it happened.
Right there. But Sean is a very funny guy, and he has a very clever wit, but because he says it so deadpan, if you're not paying attention, he just threw a good joke right past you. So he's a good guy, and we're going to have fun tomorrow. And then Enrique is going to be on November 3rd. We are booked through January now. I have Shannon Mayer coming on the show.
I love his work.
Ian Churchill coming on the show.
Where'd you find Ian?
I'm cool with him. And his wife. She's a lovely woman.
I haven't seen the guy in years. That's why I'm surprised.
Yeah, I know. Shannon Mayer, Ian Churchill, Joe Prado, Joseph Rubenstein, Alex Sinclair, Chris Sotomayor, Art Tiber. We have a lot of great people coming. And then we also have a lot of great local people.
Keith Williams, huh?
Lula Lucas. Keith Williams is going to be another legend in the industry. So we got a stacked schedule through January, and I stopped scheduling, but they keep coming. By the grace of God, I mean, I put this post up thinking, hey, what do you want?
Get a couple of people.
Yeah, I put up a post on Facebook like a month and a half ago going, hey, what do you guys think if I did like this silly little Q&A on my channel? And like 75 to 100 people said yes. And I'm talking about big names in the industry said yes too. So I was like, oh, wow. Oh, okay.
That's why I'm in November, because I thought he was kidding. And, I thought, look, it's easy. I don't have to do this because nobody's gonna come to this show. Who's gonna do it? I'll get first dibs. It'll be easy. And all of a sudden he's like, no, man, I got people through October. I go like, what? Seriously?
Yeah, because I was like, dude, schedule with me, and he thought I was gonna have to go chase him, or something.
Yeah, I mean, I thought, it's me. I thought, hey,
what he didn't tell you is that he got Stan Lee for the New Year's show. He's just not telling anybody yet.
And a Ouija board, yeah. Here's one suggestion I would make.
It actually works out for me because it was. I'm sorry, down there. What?
No, the only suggestion I would make to Phil, if you can take the audio for this and make it a podcast.
Yeah, it would work.
I don't know how to do that. Somebody would have to do that.
That's a great idea.
You're asking too much of Phil.
I'm just letting you guys know right now. Chris Mad, man, he got over 1,200 views. He rocked. People loved his show.
It was a funny show, especially you two were going back and forth.
Well, he's such a cuddly teddy bear. My little mannequin.
I don't know.
Phil, I'll look it up. I'll see if I can get you the info. But if you could set up a podcast for Creatorcon, it could help where you take them the Q&As and like somebody's in the gym listening to this while they're on the treadmill or something, you know?
I can see it.
It's not as hard as you think.
Okay. Well, everything is on YouTube, though, and you can still get the audio even if you're not watching it on your phone, though, can't you?
If you have to pay for YouTube to be able to listen to it like that.
Yeah.
Unless you have the app open.
Oh, yeah, you're right, because you can't turn it off.
Right. But making a podcast is actually a lot easier than you think.
Okay.
It's scary. One kid.
You're all on YouTube live tonight.
That's fine.
As well as Creatorcon Facebook and my Facebook. So
anybody can see this.
Shop, kids.
Anybody can see this. I'm in. My money maker.
Your money maker.
It's the beard.
Enrique's money maker. He's sitting on.
What?
You didn't know Enrique's prior career?
I have the OnlyFans.
Pole dancing, tassels, the whole.
That's been my joke for months.
Sorry, I know. Enrique, by the way, quick old question. Did you ever fix that shelf that broke? Oh man. We're in the middle of a stream and a shelf.
I saw it.
Yeah, oh my god, the shelf cracked and broke. And he's like, "Oh, I gotta go. Gotta fix my shelf."
I saw it.
We were all scared for you, bro.
No, I mean it sounded worse than what it was.
Oh, okay.
The thing is that I was able to move the books somewhere else, but I left the shell of it there because I got to replace it. It just broke. I mean, the boards just snapped right in the middle. That's what everybody heard. It just the gypsum board, whatever that thing is, because I've been taking them and like flipping them. When they start bending, I flip them and unflip them, and after a while, it snapped. That's what everybody heard. That loud crack. It smacked right through the middle. So
you should have said that you were practicing your karate chop while you were doing the show.
I don't think people would buy that, you know.
Fair enough.
Right now, the way I look, no. A few months ago, before all this, they would have. Yeah, I look good. Now I look.
Am I the only one that
sitting on my ass too much?
No, I lost, gained, but my hospital stay last week got me back into the negative gain. So, yay, losing weight.
Well, all right, dude. Have a great night to everybody. Thanks for everybody who came out and watched. Thanks for being a part of it, guys. I will see you on the flip side.
Love y'all.
And I will leave everybody as I always leave you with. Have fun storming the castle.
Woo!